My earphones.
You got your earphones? All right, I
Yeah,
think
we're live.
we're live, but are we
Yeah.
live everywhere?
Oh, we're live everywhere. We're live. We're on MSNBC right now.
Right.
We're everywhere. We pirated the airwaves and we are coming through.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Status Coup. It's the end of the year. It's December. I have my favorite comedian, political commentator with me today, Ron Placone, and we are going to talk about just a giant right-wing insanity roundup. So these are clips that I think sort of encapsulate 2023, where we've been out with the crazy train all year. Some of the clips are ones that I wanted to play earlier in the year, but we just didn't have time for. So they got sideways. Some happened the last couple of weeks when we've been doing more serious issues and didn't have time for right-wing insanity roundup. So I compiled these all today, and I invited Ron back on the show because I can't think of a better person to go through these, somewhat hilarious clips with. Even though some of them are quite serious, they still have a funny edge to them. So thanks for joining me, Ron.
I'd like to think I bring some humor to the apocalypse. It's painfully obvious the bad guys are winning, and it is frightening. Right. But I feel like all we can do is laugh. Or, well, we can do more than that too. But we gotta laugh, or we'll lose our minds. So
no, we gotta laugh. We were just talking about the show. One thing I want to mention, we've all seen this happening, where there's a portion of people that used to identify as being on the left that have sort of red pilled themselves into the right. I don't think it's horseshoe theory. Horseshoe theory is this idea that the extremes on both sides sort of bend up to an area where they have common cause. That's not what's happening here. These are folks that have just straight down the pipeline. This is right down the pipeline, right? Maybe they were always a little bit right-wing to begin with, and we just didn't realize it because they sort of couched their beliefs inside the Bernie Sanders movement, per se. Who knows? But they're, gloves are off, masks are off. The irony patrol has ironied themselves into actually believing their memes at this point. So it's something that's very real out there. And, I think a part of the population sort of that are in this group sort of philosophically believe they're offering some sort of a left exit to, economic inequality. But that's not what's happening. They are playing on a field that the fascists are creating, and there's no way they're going to win playing on that field, and they just don't see it yet.
Well, so here's my theory on everything you just said, and I think a lot of our thoughts are very kind of cross-pollinating, but maybe here's a few additional things that I can run by you. I think that something that I sometimes forget, and maybe you sometimes forget, maybe people in general sometimes forget, there's a lot of folks out there where their first introduction to politics in general was the Bernie movement. That wasn't the case for you. That wasn't the case for me. Right. That wasn't the case for George. You know what I mean? But that was the case for a lot of people, whether they were younger or maybe not. But so that being said, for some people, they were just introduced to these ideas that were like beyond the scope of what they were allowed to think before. And it sounded good to them. And then, we see what happened with the Bernie movement. It just got completely kneecapped. There's no doubt in my mind it was infiltrated to the gills. I mean, that's just what happened. And so some of those people that were susceptible to any type of outsider thinking migrated to a much more dangerous brand of it because, we are living in desperate times, and people cling to those sort of narratives in desperate times. I mean, we know this. History has taught us this. When times are desperate, Hitler didn't come to power when everything was going great in Germany, right? No. Like things were going really bad. Right. And so they thought that this lunatic had some answers. And I know it's a cliche to like use that as an example, but it's just such a crowding example of how that kind of thing works. So you have all these people who were inspired by a Bernie movement. Maybe it was their first introduction to politics. The Bernie movement gets kneecapped twice. And now all of a sudden they're, who's this Ayn Rand person? What's this? What's this message board over here?
Right. What's that 4chan thing? Let me go check out Kiwi Farms. Oh,
right. Because they're thinking like, look, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, leftist movements have been infiltrated forever. I mean, we know this. So there's no doubt the Bernie movement was any different. There were definitely, some like
you're saying like provocateurs from the right or
from the right,
accelerationists or
CIA, FBI, you name it. There was, I mean, that's
okay.
been going on forever. It went on, in the hippie movement. It went on everywhere. It's going to
I
happen.
don't see what vested interest either the CIA or FBI would have in those. I mean, ultimately, this creates more problems for them.
A transformational
Oh, you mean
presidency. They
so
don't want Bernie to be president. They don't want a movement that wants to upend the status quo. They never did. So of course they're gonna have people keeping an eye on things. We know that.
Right.
It's always happened.
Yeah, keep an eye on things. Maybe I don't know. I feel like we're in a different place than we were in the '60s, like COINTELPRO wise or something. I think things have definitely.
I would
changed.
argue we're worse in many ways. I would say we're worse.
Of course, I'm the Pollyanna. I think we're better, but okay.
I don't think we're better. I think overall we are a lot worse off. But I mean, who knows?
Well, I think hang on. Let me clarify that. I think in many ways we are worse off. Economically speaking, we are 100% worse off when it comes to not enforcing the antitrust laws. Worse off. There are many areas we're worse off, and I think neoliberalism is a real problem. But I think in some areas we've also massively improved, is what I'm saying. I mean, we've made a lot of forward movement on civil rights and things of this nature, even though, a lot of what we're seeing now is reactionary against that, right? This is the ultimate right wing saying, we got to react against this, white replacement theory. All of that's very reactionary, I think. Yeah. Anyway, I get what you're saying.
So yeah, and yeah, I mean, there's definitely been some social progress, but of course, it's come at a cost, and the cost being, oh well, there's this new, not new, but like a white supremacist rise now.
Right.
It's not like sexism went away. It's not like racism went away.
No, they've just less than they used to be, less in your face. But that's why this is also reactionary, right? I think whether we like it or not, I think having Obama as president really kind of lit a fire under these guys. And then having Trump come in was just, really ripping the Band-Aid off. So it's all very reactionary. I think although there's a rise in fascism we're seeing, I mean, that's completely indisputable. I'm very concerned about a second Trump presidency for the obvious reasons. I'm very concerned that the DNC doesn't see the problem with their weak candidate, that they're, hell-bent on running versus having a primary. I mean, there's many things that let us.
They're not having a primary. They're just not doing it
because they don't see the problem. I've often said, I'm going to say it again right now. There are two ways we can exit neoliberal economic policy, and we absolutely need to do that. I don't think that's a controversial statement at this point. There's a right exit and there's a left exit. The DNC is not offering a left exit. If they wanted to offer left exit, they wouldn't have kneecapped Bernie Sanders. They would have, sort of leaned into that. And so that left us with Trump. Like the people that are really suffering under all of these policies for decades, union workers, whatnot, they know what they're going to get under a Clinton presidency, more neoliberal bankster sort of stuff that they, caused all these problems, more free trade, not fair trade, et cetera, et cetera. So they're like, okay, I already know what I'm going to get there. Maybe this guy Trump might change everything. And I think that just ripped a Band-Aid off. I think a lot of folks now who didn't realize how dangerous he was going to be see that he's dangerous. But the genie's out of the bottle. Now you have all of these other folks that are emboldened by his presidency that didn't have anything politically at stake previously. These are no longer union workers or guys that have felt like they've been suffering under the current system. I'm talking about like Nazis that never used to participate in the political environment. They're coming out to like protest wearing swastika armbands and feeling perfectly at home at these rallies. So it's a whole different thing now.
There's stuff that's been normalized in our zeitgeist, and it's because of, I think it's because of a number of things, and one of them is everything we just talked about. Like sort of. When the Bernie movement was fractured, people migrated to some of these atrocious, horrific ideas because they thought, well, we're so desperate that this crazy political fan fiction that is QAnon sounds reasonable to us. And they migrated to it, and they migrated to, or just other types. Or
even if they didn't believe it, Ron, they became accelerationists in the sense that, the DNC isn't going to let us ever have somebody we want.
Which they're not wrong.
Right. I understand that. So I'm saying
that is not wrong. And that's part of the problem. It
is part of the problem is what I'm getting at. So this is like, let's pour gas on it. Let's just have it all go up in flames. But my thing is this, and I've said this before too, be careful of that. We don't know what comes next. To assume that it's going to be a more egalitarian democracy, I think, is a mistake. I think what comes next is authoritarian. I think it's the opposite. I don't know.
Well, it can. I mean, the direction we're going, absolutely. The direction we're going, bad will be replaced with even worse, which is hard to even imagine because it's horrific right now. I mean, this is terrible. But the rate we're going, I mean, it's like the Crane Britton book, Anatomy of a Revolution. Like whenever a status quo is clearly broken, something that
opens a vacuum, a power vacuum.
It opens a power vacuum where they describe it as rise of the extremists. That doesn't mean that everybody is quote unquote extreme. It just means it's extreme compared to what's going on.
Right.
So an extreme,
or that they get enough power where they can control things. It doesn't take a majority in order for that to happen, right? 10, 11% could be enough to sway opinion or sway the way politics go.
Well, yeah, it's usually the way it works. So it's like we are in a historic moment where it's like, yeah, we could take this big left turn and become more of a Nordic model or something like that.
Right.
That would be quote unquote extreme in a good way, where it's like, yeah, this is
I don't even think that's extreme, but I hear what you're saying.
It's not extreme. That's why I did the quote thing.
I mean,
it's not
getting back to what
but
FDR was is like, that should be, the fact that people now think that that's extreme is wild to me.
Right. It's extreme compared to what we have now, in the sense that our society is so the opposite of that. We're skating on that ice now. So.
I wanted to point out something actually that happened this week before, and then we'll get into the videos, folks. I got a little distracted here, but this is an important conversation. You know, this week, I don't know if you saw that a group of minors, so they're under 18. Some of them were quite young, were arrested by the FBI for they were planning and executing swatting and other extremist things against synagogues, 25 of them here in Southern California. Minors. We're not talking about 20-year-olds. I'm talking underage minors. They had a server. They had a Telegram chat room. They were swatting. So this is like, for folks that don't know what swatting is, it means you're having like saying that something's going on at a location that's not happening. And so, you know, the cops will come with their SWAT gear. And sometimes people end up killed by these things, right? So they multiple times of this and some other things. Minors, Ron.
Are you suggesting the police kill people when it's not necessary? Crazy thought, but I'll allow it.
I'm suggesting that.
But no, I know what you mean.
Yeah. All right. So point being that these are kids that are doing this. Kids, like, really, the domestic terrorists are now 15, 14, 16, whatever they are.
And they weren't actually, obviously they weren't planning on acting on it. Is that?
No, they did act on it. They've been acting on it. They have been acting on it for months. I mean, so you've seen these little.
Oh, wait, when you say acting on it, so there are minors that are shooting up synagogues?
They've been planning on doing so. Thus far, it was just swatting, which is very dangerous. I think that's a very serious thing to do.
Well, so wait, what is swatting exactly? I thought you said swatting is when they say they're going to do something.
No. They call. So they call in and say, like, I'm at so-and-so synagogue. There's a bomb threat. No, they did this. Hang on. So people, you can look this up. This is a thing that the alt-right's been doing for years. But so they call 911 or whatever. They say we have a bomb threat, or there's a guy here with a gun. He's going to kill us. They're lying. They're not even at that location. They're just saying that because what they want to do is send law enforcement there to possibly cause a problem, right? So they call this swatting. So it's like getting the SWAT team to show up at a location. So yes, they have acted on this multiple times. You can go back and see.
When you said they acted on it, my question was, did they actually do that at the synagogue?
Yes, multiple times. And
so they did shoot up a synagogue.
They didn't. No, they didn't shoot it up. They called in they swatted them.
That's what I'm asking. So you're saying they swatted. That's when you're saying they did it multiple times. You mean they swatted multiple times?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
In addition to that, they also vandalized several locations with neo-Nazi vandalism, whatever you want to call that. Anyway, my point is that 15, 16, 14, I don't even know, like, minors are doing this. Are you kidding me right now? A group of them. I mean, that would have been unheard of 15 years ago, 10 years ago.
You're just not hip to the rhythm of the youth, Tina. That's That's a weekend activity now. They're like, we're gonna do some neo-Nazi
Really,
swatting like
yeah,
we do.
some neo-Nazi edgelord swatting. I mean, it's just so tragic. I mean, when I was 14, I was 15, I was out riding bicycles in the street, or God, when I was 16, I was hanging out with friends eating pizza. I mean, how does this even enter your brain cells at that age? It's crazy to me.
I mean,
I'm assuming some of them were a little older. I just don't know. I mean, obviously it's minor, so this doesn't get discussed in great length in the
right?
in
No,
the press release for obvious reason. But geez, man, still,
I mean, well, I could never imagine doing something
yeah.
like that in general, even if the technology would have been available to me. But I am happy. I mean, I don't know. There's not a day when I don't think about stuff like this. I'm so glad that I did not have the internet the way it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
no,
to
it's
me,
part of it, right? They have access to these Telegram chat rooms,
there's so
4chan,
much.
whatever else. There's so much where they could, if they get online and their parents aren't there, or they don't have good relationships with their parents, whatnot. I could see this. They're being ripe to be recruited or whatever.
Yeah,
Red
but although I mean, I feel like I feel like the younger people, and again, generally, I mean, obviously, it's not everyone, but I feel like generally they're just better equipped to handle it because it's all they know. All
That's
they know
scary.
is just
That's
having
scary.
this insane super information highway at their fingertips, where
You
you
mean
can
super misinformation highway?
some of it, yeah. I mean, some of
If
it's
you're
great.
swatting people, you're definitely believing in misinformation.
Well,
I
of
mean,
course you are, but the internet in general, I mean, there's a lot of really cool interest. I mean, hey, you can learn how to do anything you want almost on YouTube. If you want to learn how to change a tire, you can learn that now. You can
right,
learn how to change your oil. I mean,
right.
there's,
No, I'm not disputing that.
but
I'm
there's also any other kind of crazy idea
right,
you can imagine.
right.
And I think that generally speaking, the younger people, obviously not in examples like this, but like younger people in general, I feel like they are really well equipped to handle it because it's just the only world they know.
You wait there. Did you say ill or well equipped?
Well equipped. I think
Well,
that they don't
okay.
know
I
anything
think
else.
they're ill equipped.
All right. Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question. If you get one of those reply send forward email chains of some bogus freaking idea and some spam thing that looks like it's from 1995, is it likely to come from Gen Z or not Gen Z?
No
You tell me.
idea.
Who would Oh, come on. Who would you
No,
guess?
no idea.
Would you guess? Okay.
I don't know anybody that forwards those things.
Okay. All
You're saying
right.
that's a boomer thing? Is that what you're getting at?
Uh Maybe not specifically boomer, but generally speaking, I think that's more likely to come from an older person than a younger person, generally speaking. I think it's safe to
100%, but
say.
I don't think anybody owns the ability to be misguided by misinformation. I mean, obviously, these kids were led into believing that the white replacement theory, that, anti Semitic tropes about Jewish people controlling the world, they believe this stuff. Somebody
Of
led them in that
course.
direction. So,
Of course. Hey, there's people running for president who believe
right.
that stuff. Who is not Gen Z.
Right.
So yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I mean, it's like anything
I
else.
think it's tragic, is what I'm saying. It's tragic that we have literal children falling into this trap and acting on it to the extent where they're being arrested by the FBI. That is fucking insane, Ron. That is insane. That is where we're
Yeah.
at in the country. That scares the shit out of me.
Well, I mean, it's pretty freaking nuts, and it's also crazy that everything that's going on right now is of course terrible, and I'm 110% against what the Israeli government is doing. I am 110%
Yeah. Also,
for
right-wing
Palestinian
extremists.
right-wing extremists, but the sad component of that, I mean, there's that disgusting misinformation trope that gets repeated in Western war propaganda that any criticism of Israel is anti-Semitic.
Which is nonsense. I
Which
think
is
that's a dangerous
nonsense.
trope. It's a dangerous trope.
It's very dangerous. It's
Yeah, I
very
agree.
dangerous. But the other side of that, when you go to these terminally online things, is that there are people out there who are anti-Semitic.
Oh,
They're
100%.
already, and they're using this.
Yes, of course.
And I've seen. I mean, literally, I've had to block a couple anti-Semites on Twitter because I would be tweeting about Palestinian rights,
Right.
and they would go underneath and they'd be like, yeah, and I'd be like, no,
No. Yeah.
we are not the same. You are an anti-Semitic
Right.
douchebag who is using this to try to
Right.
justify your anti-Semitism.
That's
We are
exactly
not the
right.
same.
We
And
are
you are
not the same.
disgusting.
That's right. I agree.
And it gives ammunition to
Right.
the war propagandists. It gives
It's so bad.
ammunition to the
Yeah.
war propagandists.
I agree
So
with
it's a
you.
shame, but it
Yeah.
is real. And I don't
It is
deny that is real,
Yeah.
you know. And so,
all right. Well, on
I
that
think that's
note,
part of the truth.
welcome to the show, everybody. On that note, that was a very long introduction. Let's get into
Smash
some
the
of
like
our.
button.
Oh yes, please smash the like button. Become a member if you can. You know, obviously we take memberships at Status Coup. We don't
Colin,
take.
is the sale still going on?
Oh yeah, is it still going on?
Colin quit. Oh wait, no, there he is.
There it is. Ah!
Guys, there's a sale going on. You can go to statuscoupmember.com/store. You can get 2 months free. 1 year at the $10 level is $100. 1 year at the $5 level is $50. It makes a great gift. And keep in mind, when you support Status Coup, you're not just supporting on the ground journalism, although I mean that's incredibly important, but you're also getting something back that's kind of your own thing for fun. You know, we do member calls, we do behind the scenes stuff. We do behind the scenes videos that are a lot of fun.
Yep.
When we were out in Chicago, I had John Farina try his first Italian beef. He had never had one before. We did a video about it. So there's a lot of fun, cool stuff that you get. And we might be doing some virtual events next year. We might be doing an interactive event where Tina shows you her browser history and you get to see firsthand all the messed up research she does. Do you want to never sleep again?
Right.
Here's the chat rooms Tina goes into. Did you go into that?
Ron, I love you.
I sent you.
Okay, so yeah, in fact, before we get into the videos, let's talk about that. We should mention this. So some anti-fascists in Sweden hacked Milgard is one of the oldest, longest existing neo-Nazi stores online. Also, they have a physical presence, or at least they used to, I should say, in Sweden. But if you're on this website, you are 100% committed to the neo-Nazi cause. That's not up for debate. They sell a lot of, in addition to like 14 words t-shirts, white pride t-shirts, things of this nature. They sell a lot of the band neo-Nazi black metal music. So you go there if you want to buy, get your hate music on. That's where you get it. Screwdriver, all these kinds of bands. But the anti-fascists in Sweden actually hacked the website. Apparently they had terrible security and have now posted the entire database online with names, addresses, phone numbers, and what they purchased. So yes, I have been going through that the last few days.
Of course you have.
I have found some interesting folks. There is a Groyper, for example. His name is Brandon Kavanaugh, who is one of the J6 arrestees. He's one of the original arrestees who was in the Capitol, one of the first folks arrested. He used to work at NASA, believe it or not. But when he's in the database,
I can't believe it. I can't believe
when you rocket scientist.
Yeah, I can't believe when you go through history the connection
there. Fair. All right, that's fair, Ron. But he bought this is a guy that kind of soft pedals his racism, right? But then you see that you go into the database and you see that he bought words that had the t-shirts that had the 14 words on it, white pride stuff, like hardcore stuff. I'm like, yeah, okay, Brandon, there you go, there you are.
The first thing
a police lieutenant is another one I found. I'm not going to disclose where and when yet because I'll probably write a piece on that one.
I hope you will. Yeah.
So there's some interesting things in there.
I wanted to say the first thing I thought of when I came across that article. Well, the first thing I thought of was I'm glad I found the perfect holiday gift for Tina. But then the other thing I thought. So I used to do like a music like a podcast about music and politics. It was called 5 Chords and the Truth. We had the co-host and I just got busy with other things. We ended it years ago, but we did like an extensive episode on like fascist punk and stuff like that. And so for a split second, I kind of thought, because I did like extensive research and I did it, like on incognito windows and stuff because I didn't want, but part of me thought, I was like, oh wait, did I ever go to that website? So because I was like researching fascist music.
As long as you didn't buy anything, you're good. So these are individuals. So you're good. So these are individuals that bought merchandise and had it shipped to them, which is how they have the addresses. So
Oh, okay. Well, then,
what
yeah,
I
no, I'm
find
good,
interesting,
but
what I find interesting about this database isn't the people that I expected to see in there. There's also some hardcore skinheads that live here in Los Angeles that I'm aware of that obviously bought stuff on there. But there's a bunch of folks on there that are fresh, new, interesting names, and you're like, who are these people? Those are the ones that have been operating, sort of under the radar. Who knows what they're into?
how many of them are governors of Florida? Come on, spill the tea.
None yet, but it wouldn't surprise me. But there is an extensive group of folks from the United States in this database. It's not just Europeans. So I'm sure more and more reporting is going to be coming out in the next couple of weeks on.
You say that like it's surprising.
It's not. It's
like,
not surprising.
Some of the neo-Nazis are in the United States. Brace yourself.
Brace yourself. The least surprising thing about it, Ron, is how many of them are from San Diego and surrounding areas, El Cajon, Lakeside. I'm like, of course, checks. It checks.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's always been a big problem in Southern California.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people realize it.
And I mean, San Diego, I guess you could make the argument San Diego is the most conservative major city in California.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. But I think there's just in the inland area, not the coast, the inland area, there's just always been, there's a city called Santee there that the locals refer to as Clanty for that reason. There's a Peckerwoods motorcycle gang that's been there since the 60s, I believe. So it's just very ingrained in that area.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It is something and like if you've ever been to certain parts of Southern
Oregon?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Eastern Oregon. Like in Idaho, like we've just given up on Idaho. I'm just
yeah, Idaho. Well, not ever. I mean, Boise's, kind of a neat little hippie town, but yeah, it definitely has its pockets. I mean, everywhere has its bad pockets. I mean,
there. I mean, there's the American Redoubt now that extends up into like Eastern Washington, that whole area.
That area is, that's a particular area. I mean,
they all started moving there like, 10, 15 years ago and homesteading and whatnot. Or building, I shouldn't say homestead, I said building their, what do they call that? Prepper bunkers.
Yeah, I mean, so I spent a lot of years on the road and I've seen pretty much all of the lower 48, and the only place, knock on wood, the only place I've ever been where I genuinely just did not even feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Like as a white man, and I still was like, I am genuinely not comfortable in this town, was Grants Pass, Oregon.
Oh, okay.
Which is known as a Klan town.
Oh, 100%.
And it is, I went to a bookstore there once. The political section consisted of books by Glenn Beck and L. Ron Hubbard. And that was it.
What? Wait. Wow.
The most like relatively, the most like, I saw one woman in like a Ron Paul t-shirt. And that was like the closest, like that was
like reasonable, normal there.
Comparatively speaking. Like anyway. All right. I'll let you get to the videos.
Yeah, no, I feel you there. Anyway, so that's just, it's good. We ran down some stuff that's happening right now that's important. All right, so number one, I mean, our list would not be complete unless it absolutely started with Marjorie Taylor Greene, because yes, of course, right-wing insanity roundup. She's one of my favorites. Who remembers when she did the gazpacho police?
I don't actually.
Oh, let's play the video.
She's had so many moments that
this was a good one.
All right.
Not only do we have the DC jail, which is the DC gulag, but now we have Nancy Pelosi's gazpacho police spying on members of Congress, spying on the legislative work that we do, spying on our staff, and spying on American citizens that want to come talk to their representatives. This government has turned into something it was never meant to be, and it's time to make it end.
Make it stop.
If there's not a band out there called Gazpacho Police, that is such a missed opportunity. That is such a missed opportunity. Someone's got to do that.
I mean,
someone's got to have that band.
I mean, I'm pretty sure she meant Gestapo, but
well, yeah, of course she did.
The gazpacho, please. As an Italian, how do you feel about that, Ron?
Well, gazpacho is not Italian. Not to
Oh, I thought
be
it
not
was.
to be overly particular here. No, that is a Greek.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I had always thought that originated in Italy.
So you know the oldest Greek-Italian joke? I feel like
No.
I might get in trouble for this, but it's an old joke. It's not meant to affect. It's an old street joke, but it's you know, the Greeks and the Italians were some of the first groups in humankind, and they invented all kinds of amazing things, and they really influenced each other. For example, the Greeks gazpacho. For example, the Greeks invented sex, and then later the Italians introduced it to women.
Oh,
it's an old joke.
Well, anybody that's read Plato is like gonna chuckle at that.
Yeah, it's, you know, come on.
Yeah, I get it.
But yeah, that's like the oldest Italian Greek joke.
All right.
Or whatever.
So my next Marjorie Taylor Greene moment that had me in stitches for days was when she talked about COVID cash going to CRT. Let's play that clip.
Can you tell me how much COVID cash went to CRT?
CRT.
Critical race theory in education. It's a racist curriculum used to teach children that somehow their white skin is not equal to black skin and other things in education.
Yeah. No, I do not know that, but I do know that there's provisions that the federal funds generally are not used, are supposed to be used for curriculum.
Oh,
that's a state.
Oh, Mr. Dodaro, I have to tell you, in Illinois, they received $5.1 billion at an elementary school there that used it for equity and diversity. So it's being used for these things.
I mean, we can talk about how she's talking about CRC is this racist thing. It's not CRC, CRT.
CRT.
But this is also a totally made up bullshit lie, right? One elementary school in whatever she said, that just, of all the things that didn't happen, that didn't happen. But I sort of always chuckle at, you know, the guy's face. He's like, what are you talking about?
Well, it's amazing that there are people and so it's amazing that she was able to get elected.
Yeah.
Like it's just remarkable that it's like she was elected. And then when you hear these just absurd things that they're angry at, that have like, they're just not real.
They're just not real, and they're so angry.
Just isn't real. And
but it's because she's racist, right? She wants to say that critical race theory is racist because it, you know, makes white children feel bad about themselves. Does it though? No, it's just dealing with what our history is.
If
you know what? Maybe we should feel bad about that. Here's a thought.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things. If a white student, it feels like, oh, I'm bad just because I'm white. Well, then I think the teacher didn't do a great job.
You're missing the point. Yeah,
you're missing the point, and I think it's the teacher's job. So, like, there's a line that can be had, and part of it has to do with you. I mean, people out there, they think that you either want to completely whitewash our history, where you completely BS these kids about what really happened, or you want to show them American History X when they're 4 years old. And there's no, and it's like, that's absurd. Like, no one is suggesting that there's not, you know, there's not some judgment
any nuance,
here, and any nuance and any context, and you know, like kind of waiting until they're ready for certain things. You know, I don't think that our history should be whitewashed. I'm very much against that. I don't think that they should be shown American History X in kindergarten. I also don't think that they're not ready for that.
They're not ready for that.
And,
no,
and
I
know, like, the example that I just gave is very extreme, but it's like, those are the arguments Marjorie Taylor Greene and her, those are the types of arguments they make. They make it out like people who are saying, hey, we shouldn't whitewash our history. We're suggesting, okay, we should just like,
and then they just make up examples that never happened to justify it, like this elementary school. Like, literally, that never happened. I mean, she got owned in the media for making that claim, obviously fact checked, but that doesn't stop her from repeating. And a lot of these right wing extremists do the same thing. They repeat these made up stories
to her. She didn't come up with that on her own. Someone's feeding it to her. I mean, somebody
on Twitter said something to her, and she's like, "Oh, that must be true."
No, it's not. You know what I think it probably is, Tina? Seriously, like it's probably like the Heritage Foundation or something
Right.
like that,
Oh
or
yeah, that's
somewhere
possible.
where she cashes a fat check,
Right.
and they're just feeding her this
This
bullshit,
lie. Yeah.
and then you have portions of the American public that think this is a real thing.
Right.
Out of all the real issues that we have, and take a number, go down the list. You know, they're distracting people with
Children
this
going
absolute
to the
nonsense.
bathroom in cat boxes. There's another one. No. Maybe I should have
Another
included
thing
that one in the
didn't-
list, but I didn't.
Yeah, another thing that didn't happen. You know,
It's crazy. It didn't happen. All right. So this next one is her getting into a fight with FBI Director Christopher Wray, and it's pretty damn hilarious.
Mr. Wray, do you remember on October 18th when the Capitol complex was illegally occupied, breaking same laws that you have hunted down Americans for from January 6th? Are you familiar with this?
I don't recognize the picture that you're holding.
Well, because maybe your agents haven't been doing a good job into investigating the organizers that broke the law, illegally occupied this very building that we're sitting in right now, and over 300 of them were arrested. Some of them attacked police officers. I haven't seen on the news where the FBI is hunting them down with helicopters, tanks in the streets, raiding their homes with flashbangs, targeting these people, watching these people, throwing them in jail for them to stay in pre-trial in solitary confinement for years before they ever face trial. You want to know what this says? I'll tell you. This is one of the organizers' phones, and this is a chat, and it says at the top, Global Intifada. Now, while we're talking about terrorism today, are you familiar with the term Intifada?
I've certainly heard the term.
Do you know the definition?
I'm not going to try to define it, but
It means Arab uprising or jihad. Are you concerned about jihad in this country?
I am, and I have consistently testified to that effect.
Yes, but are you interested in using the FBI? You are the director of the FBI. Do you hunt down terrorists in our country? Those that would be responsible for jihad?
Absolutely, and that's why we've had jihadist-inspired terrorism at our highest national threat priority level since the day that I started as FBI director.
Do you still use the Southern Poverty Law Center as a source? You use them. The FBI used the Southern Poverty Law Center as a source when targeting Catholics. Are you still using the Southern Poverty Law Center as a source?
Congresswoman, what I think you're referring to is the so-called Richmond intelligence product, which as soon as I learned about it, I was horrified, withdrew it. We had an inspection done, and part of the problem that we found with that particular product by that particular office is precisely what you're talking about, the reliance on the Southern Poverty Law Center and the way in which they relied on it.
Well, you relied on the Southern Poverty Law Center, but I would have you know, Mr. Wray, that this one right here, this person involved in the Global Intifada group that illegally, they broke the law, came in and occupied the Cannon Office House building, interrupted Congress, interrupted hearings. Right here, Katrina Bleakley is the lead attorney for the Southern Poverty Law Center. Were you aware of this?
Congresswoman, as I said, I haven't seen the photos that you're holding up before.
Maybe, well, I posted them on my Twitter account. It's public. You know, maybe
I don't
you guys
spend a lot of time on Twitter.
Well, you know, oh, I'm sure you do, because the Department of Homeland Security, organized with other offices, has censored many Americans, including myself.
I'm not part of the Department of Homeland Security.
Right, Mr. Wray, you should be interested in investigating terrorism, and this right here is proof that we had terrorists in our own office building. Global Intifada. And you rely on the Southern Poverty Law Centers. Katrina Bleakley is one of the organizers. I'll send this over to your office so maybe perhaps you can stop targeting innocent grandmothers and veterans who walked through the Capitol on January 6th and might actually go after people tied to Hamas, tied to Hezbollah, and likely Iran.
I've been laughing through this whole thing. There's so much here to unpack.
And
Okay,
then somebody
number
told
one.
her she was at an Arby's drive-thru.
Right. Just right off the bat, I want to clarify something she's saying that isn't true. Intifada does not mean jihad. That is an entirely false talking point, untrue. It's uprising against oppression. That is what it means. It does not mean jihad. A lot of intifada, in fact, it originates with Christian Palestinians. It is not the same as terrorism necessarily at all. That's just a ridiculous thing she's making. But my favorite thing she said, she's asking Christopher, why haven't you seen this? He's like, and she's like, I posted them on my Twitter.
Yeah, that was pretty epic. Also, she doesn't know
what
what.
Christopher Ray is like, yeah, girl, I'm on your Twitter every day.
Well, she didn't know what his actual job was, which was kind of like,
right.
All
he
right,
doesn't work for
you
the
should know what the
Department of
guy's
Homeless.
job is.
That's right. He's like, I don't work for DHS.
It just blows my mind that this is what our government spends money on. Like is that your ride?
Yeah.
Jesus. That was the Jewish space laser. It's mad at you for making fun of MGT too much, or MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Wow. Yeah, that
is a lot.
It's amazing that she can just have. I mean, she has this, like, everything she did was, like, very pre-planned.
Oh, 100%.
Like, she had
lady,
her little...
The people that have been arrested for January 6th deserve to be. They broke the law. Many of them were plotting against the government. Like, just stop it with these, like, innocent grandmother bullshit. Come on now.
Well, there was that one grandma-looking lady. I don't know whatever happened to her. The one with she had that, like, Trump flag or whatever.
I don't know, man. Anyway, that is so funny to me.
It's such a waste that it's like she's still.
I know.
Like that's what's important to her and her ilk. Like that's what they're just still talking about. Oh well, this happened, and January 6th. It's like, dude, like, I mean, there's people. More people are becoming food insecure every day. Right. Every day, more people are becoming food insecure.
They're still arguing that that these guys weren't doing anything wrong on her end, or they're going to this place where election was actually stolen, even though that's completely debunked. I mean, I can't believe anybody would make that case anymore, but some of them still do.
Do you think
that J6 was a false flag? I mean, you still hear all of these things out there.
Well, of course you do. I think honestly, and I know we've kind of talked about this before, I think we have reached the point we will never have a just regular accepted election ever again.
I agree. No matter what happens,
we haven't since 2016. I mean, we just haven't. I mean, look,
I agree.
They babbled about Russiagate for well, they still are, and they're already. I mean, Hillary Clinton already warned it's going to happen again. These memes from St. Petersburg.
Yeah, both parties have been chipping away at the election integrity or belief in election integrity in the country.
Well, and we don't have any election integrity.
I disagree. I think we do. I think there's a difference.
Not according to any real statistic. We don't.
That's not true.
We rank. That is true. We rank incredibly low. Incredibly low. We rank right around when you look at like election integrity statistics that are worth a damn. We rank very low.
Okay, I need you to define what that means then.
They do rankings. They do rankings.
No, but what do you mean by election integrity? Are you suggesting we have
just
election
how clean our elections are? We do not rank very high, Tina. I encourage you to look into it.
I don't know. All right. I don't know what you're saying here. If you're saying that Trump won the election or something, I'm
not saying that at all. I'm not saying that at all. He did not win the election. But I'm saying that we do not have very clean elections. We have voter rolls that are purged constantly. Usually, it's black and brown people that are being purged. You can look.
All right, I agree with you there.
That points to that. So we don't have very, Noam Chomsky described it well. He's like, if you want to criticize our pristine elections, here's where you want to start.
I don't think they're pristine, but I also don't think we have rampant election fraud in which, like what Trump is saying is true. I think
I never said that. I never said that. I said we don't have. Well, I mean, go ahead and look at some of the indexes. We rank very low. We rank near like Russia pretty much. And, that's probably where we deserve to be. Our elections are, pretty terrible. And I mean, I had an argument with my family once because we were in Italy on election day, and they were kind of like, oh my God, they were voting with pencil and this and that. And I was just like, their elections are better than ours. Their elections are better than ours.
Listen, I think we have made gains in that. Like, I think Pennsylvania is a prime example. They went back to keeping paper ballots. So if they have to do a hand recount, they can do it. I mean, we've had issues, but I don't think I don't think we have rampant election fraud. I think what we're more inclined to in this country is having two political parties that control their primaries in a sense, where they put their thumbs on the scale. But that I don't think that's the same thing as election fraud.
Okay, how about in 2000 when a corrupt stat court handed the election to a
yeah,
person
that was
who didn't
bad,
win?
but I wouldn't say that has anything to do with
bad.
it. That's yes, it's bad, but that's not a problem with our election system where rampant fraud happened. That is an example of authoritarianism where it was totally fucked up and wrong.
Yeah, but that's our elections. I mean, that's our elections.
Yeah, but that's why I'm saying I need to have examples of what it is you're referring to, because I think when we start making cases about
super delegates, the electoral college,
okay, you're getting off. We're getting off kilter.
No,
here.
we're not.
Those things we are. Those things I agree with. I don't think that's election integrity, though. We're not talking about the integrity of our voting systems. That's different, is what I'm saying.
So, okay, all right. So where a system where your vote doesn't really count, it's like
I wouldn't go that far.
I would.
All right. I mean, we can have that. Let's table that for another day because that's like a 2-hour discussion. Okay. I think we have a very fucked up primary system, and that's where the problems lie. I do think that there have the voter purge. I think Greg Palast has done a great job of looking into that stuff and documenting it. He's done great work in that area.
It's well documented. I mean, if they didn't, and I'm no
right,
fan
but none
of
of this.
Clinton.
My point to you is none of this has to do with the integrity of the actual voting system. So when you say election integrity, that's what I was
disagree. Agree to disagree. I mean, I think that's a semantic argument, and I think
no,
it's
not.
I'm
talking about the actual casting of votes and counting of votes. I'm not talking about all these other ancillary things that happen on the side that have nothing to do with the actual vote system.
So if there's something corrupt about how the votes are counted in the first place, you would say that's a separate thing.
Yeah, I think we have to be careful how we talk about.
Agree to disagree.
All right.
Agree to disagree.
Okay. All right, let's move on. This clip is kind of hilarious because MTG is getting schooled on. She gets a civics lessons from what I'm going to call the punk grandma.
Thank you, Mrs. Chair. My Democrat colleague across the aisle, who's 80 years old and has been here over 30 years, just said we're on the verge of a shutdown. She probably just forgot that a few hours ago she voted for the continuing resolution that will extend the budget, and we are not on the verge of a shutdown. So I just wanted to note that for the record.
It may be that the gentlelady doesn't know that there is another body attached to the U.S. Congress called the United States Senate, and they have to vote on the continuing resolution. And when they vote on it, we'll find out what it is that they do with regard to this continuing resolution passed by the House, which, quite frankly, is flawed to a fare thee well. Flawed to a fare thee well in meeting our obligations, both domestic and international. And by the way, it isn't a law of the land or done until the President of the United States signs it. That may be a basic level, a lesson in civics. There is the House, there is the Senate, and there is the President.
Is that who is that lady?
She's a representative from Connecticut. So this is the House of Reps. She's a rep there, and I just love her.
She's a state rep.
Yeah. No.
No, she's in Congress.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So she's kind of wild. She has this great hairdo, but this was this back and forth that they had on the floor. So, I thought you'd appreciate her hair, Ron.
I like her hair. I also appreciate that she had to explain how basic things work to a member of Congress.
Right? All right. So that is one of my favorite MTG clips that I never got to play this year. So I want to take care of that today. So I want to go back and talk about Mike Huckabee for a second. I did talk about him previously earlier in the year on this show, but I think this bears repeating because it's absolutely batshit. So I want to put this up on screen. The President Trump, the Kids Guide, because it's making a comeback. So Mike Huckabee has this book that he's made. You can get it for free. It's called The Kids Guide to President Trump. And it's just chock full of, I don't know, Trump propaganda. What else you want to call this? His accomplishments in office. There's like cartoons, his visions for America, a lot of kind of suppressed sort of extremist talking points in there. How these policies, anti-immigration, xenophobic policies are right for America. So I think it's really dangerous. It's funny, but it's also very dangerous because this is how you sort of introduce these concepts to young kids and get them to accept them at a younger age. They grow into them, they grow up with them, and they believe that this is how things should be, right? So that's that. And then let's play the video ad, Colin, because it's kind of like,
Hi, this is Mike Huckabee. Isn't it amazing how so much that President Trump said still rings true? But schools and the media don't want our kids to hear anything positive. And that's why my team created the Kids Guide to President Trump. It'll teach your kids all about President Trump's accomplishments and his vision for America. And I want you to have it for free.
what do you think of that?
Well, I know some stocking stuffers I need to get to right away. I got some books to send people. You know, it's so Mike Huckabee. This is a total aside, but
Yeah.
I have Mike Huckabee does some random show in Nashville, Tennessee, and
Still currently?
yeah, oh yeah, he's still. I don't even know where it airs, to tell you the truth. I mean, I guess maybe Fox. I don't know.
I haven't seen it. That would check though.
It is out in the ethers. Be very afraid. But he always has like a warm-up comic. I never got an invite. I'm sure it's in the mail. But he will literally I've seen comics I know where they'll be posting about like Trump and anti-Trump stuff and all this other stuff, which is cool. But then they're like, I got an opportunity to do Huckabee, and they have these selfies with Mike
Right.
Huckabee and stuff.
That's kind of scary. So he's done other books, as you're sort of referencing here. We can put this up on the screen. Colin says this is his.
Are the rest of them free too?
That's a good question. This is an article from the Daily Beast that shows some of the screenshots of it. So they're sort of kind of making fun of
with, the
Dr. Seuss. Yeah. So, I don't know if they're free though. That's a good question. No, they're not. Okay, continuous price with an automatic $20.90 monthly charger. So he's making money. So I guess you sign up for this.
The cat
book
in the
club.
MAGA hat.
Yeah, the cat.
That is freaking hilarious. How the liberals canceled Christmas.
I mean, the lack of self-awareness is hilarious. Horton here's a hoax.
I mean, there's got to be a little bit of self-awareness here. Like they have to know. They have to know, like, some people are going to buy this as a gag, and they have to embrace that. Like, they just have to.
Right.
There's no way.
That's fair. But, I mean, you combine this with, like, some of the book bans that are going on in Florida, Texas, whatnot, Tennessee. The GOP has been trying to pull all kinds of books that they don't like outside of not only the school system, but libraries and whatnot. So you kind of combine these two things together, and it's a very bad combination for society.
Yeah.
On a serious note.
The funny thing is the excuse they give for the book bannings and stuff, or some of the excuses they give where they're just the one thing they said that I thought was hilarious is they're like, well, we just don't want pornography in our school libraries.
Right.
And I was just sitting there like, when was that ever an issue?
It's not. I mean, if you look at the books they're calling pornography and whatnot, they're not that. So these guys, a lot of these guys are very anti-gay anything. So if it's gay or if it mentions anything that's sort of pro-inclusionary, they're automatically going to say it's pedophilia, pornography. Like I looked at some of the books that they're calling that. I'm like, this isn't pornography. What are you even talking about? But that's their worldview. You know what I'm saying?
They honestly want the country to believe that until Ron DeSantis came along, there were school librarians all over the country just going, Penthouse, that's a Shakespeare play, right? Throwing it. And it's like, that was never happening. That never happened.
No, but that's exactly it. That's exactly how it sounds, right? That is how they make it sound, right? 100%.
Do you ever know nothing good happens when they nothing? No, there's never been a moment in history where they're like they started burning books and then things got great. Like it's never,
never
goes that way.
It never goes great ever. End of story. I agree with you.
It's always they started burning books and then things got way freaking worse. That's how it's always been.
Always, I agree with you. I mean, look at pre-German Nazi Party. They started doing Jewish book bans and books, burning Jewish author books. That was the thing. They would have a book burning party. Well, that wouldn't be the first time either, I guess. Greek, you could go back. The burning of the library, right? The Christians burned the library down. Yes, you're correct. I think it's where knowledge becomes the idea of knowledge to these folks that are extremists is that's dangerous, because if people have knowledge, they might not agree with their opinions, might demand something better or less authoritarian. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for that, but you're correct. I think book banning, bad idea, period.
Yeah. I mean, all right.
All right.
Let's,
Okay. So our next section, of course, it wouldn't be complete if we didn't look at the GOP primary this year. So these are clips.
So funny so far. It should be funnier though. I feel like we deserve.
All right. Well, before we get into this, who do you think is the most outlandish of all the GOP primary candidates? I mean, I don't personally think it's Trump.
No, well, he hasn't shown up yet, so it's hard to say.
Well, he's been running his shadow sort of with his town halls and stuff, and I have some clips from that. He
hasn't been on the stage. I mean,
no.
As far as, I mean, everyone knows, as far as like who is the most dangerous, Ron DeSantis. I mean, but by far, I mean, I consider that guy the most dangerous person. Oh yeah, we've talked about this. I mean, I think
not Ramaswamy. I think Vivek is. I don't know. I think.
As far as sounding like a lunatic, yeah, he takes the gold medal.
Okay.
But I feel like those are two like it's like.
So you think because Ron is more capable, that makes him more dangerous?
Oh yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I've
always, and I know some people. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. Like, I hope that people, because like people are saying, oh, he's kind of lost his mojo and stuff, and polls do seem to indicate that, but. Mm-hmm. I think that dude is dangerous as hell. And I think he is by far the most dangerous person in American politics. And I would not underestimate that guy. Yeah. I hope everyone's right when they're saying he's going down the tubes. I really hope.
Oh, he's 100% going down the tubes.
I hope you're right.
I think we're going to end up with the Trump.
I wouldn't bet on it
again.
I mean, I think there's a good chance of that. Yes. But I wouldn't write him off, is all I'm saying. I do think it's likely going to be Trump will get the nomination, but I wouldn't write him off. Or even if he doesn't get the nomination, DeSantis, I mean, I wouldn't write off him maneuvering something. I just would not underestimate him, is all I'm saying. I hope I'm freaking wrong. I hope he becomes a footnote in 2 weeks. I really hope so.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't.
I don't think he's going to. I don't know. I think it's going to be Trump, but we'll see. So my first clip, this is just appalling on so many levels. I'm just going to play this. This is basically the audience like, yeah, woohoo, people should die because they don't have health care. Yeah.
A healthy 30-year-old young man has a good job, makes a good living, but decides, you know what? I'm not going to spend $200 or $300 a month for health insurance because I'm healthy. I don't need it. But, something terrible happens. All of a sudden, he needs it. Who's going to pay for if he goes into a coma, for example? Who pays for that?
In a society that you accept welfareism and socialism, he expects the government to take care of him.
What do you want?
But what he should do is whatever he wants to do and assume responsibility for himself. My advice to him would have a major medical policy, but not before.
But he doesn't have that. He doesn't have it, and he needs intensive care for 6 months. Who pays?
That's what freedom is all about, taking your own risk. This whole idea that you have to prepare and take care of everybody.
But Congressman, are you saying the society should just let him die?
No.
I should have had that in a different section. Anyway, what do you make of that insanity?
In other places, healthcare is considered a human right. Education is considered a human right. We have lost that notion in the United States. Maybe we never had it. I don't know. But this idea that it is somehow freedom to, be one medical issue away from being debt trapped for the rest of your life. I don't know on what planet that is freedom.
That's not freedom.
And it's to me, it's like, why? I mean, like when you hear, and this is where, this is when you realize how ridiculous libertarianism is, because it's like, when it's, they're anti-war and I'm also anti-war. So it's like, okay, we have that in common. But then they get into, on social issues, usually they're kind of like live and let live. So it's like, okay, you're live and let live. That's good. Right. That you're not bothering people. But then you get into like healthcare and stuff like that. And it's the most nutso shit you've ever heard, where it literally is, yeah, someone
It's
should
gotten
just
more
die on
nuts,
the
though, too, right?
It's freedom.
So
It's
to
not
clarify, this
freedom.
isn't obviously from this primary debate. This was from a, I should label these better on my list. This is from 2012, obviously. It's an older primary. But I think that this was sort of, the reason I picked this clip is I wanted to show like a throwback as to how we sort of got to where we are now.
Sure.
Because this, 2012, we weren't in as extreme of a place as we are in today as far as the electorate is concerned. I'd say the Trumpism is much more extreme, but you can kind of see like how we got there, how we sort of slowly stepped to the place that we are today.
Absolutely. I mean, everything's a slow boil. And then you have events that really will kind of accelerate that slow boil. And, Trump winning was one of those types of events. And we can go before that. Obama promising change and governing like Reagan was one of those events, because, you had a big portion of this country who, they just think, oh, Obama is supposed to be a progressive. Well, my life has gotten even worse the past 8 years. And, they're not, like they're working 2 and 3 jobs just to survive. They don't have time to like consume a ton of news all the time. So they don't realize that it's like, oh, actually, he governed like Reagan. So they just think, well, I guess progressive policies suck because 8 years of Obama, my life's gotten worse. So I'm going to take a chance on this snake oil salesman, Donald Trump now.
Yeah.
Especially since Hillary Clinton offered them nothing. Hillary Clinton offered them nothing at all. So, it's all reactionary, and people are basically tethered into these horrible situations. And it's going to happen again. People are going to get tethered into, picking between a demented lunatic like Biden, who's been on the wrong side of pretty much everything his entire career, somehow managed to fail up into the presidency, or Donald Trump, who now, I mean, I have this theory. He made that speech not too long ago that would have made Mussolini blush. And I think, and I've said this for a long time, I still believe it, I don't think Donald Trump has any beliefs. I think he's just a narcissistic goofball. Like, I think he's just a narcissist. He is a by-the-book narcissist. He cares about nothing except for his fame, his brand, his wealth. That's it. He doesn't have any ideology. So why is he sounding that extreme then? Well, because he's realizing that some of his base has left him because he's not crazy enough for them. So he's like, well, I got to up the crazy because I want the people at my rallies. Right. So it's frightening. It's almost like, like Victor lost control of the monster, and like it's almost like that. And it's, I think. All right. So
I don't disagree. All right. So next, I think we do have the actual GOP primary clips.
There were some doozies.
There are some doozies.
Same thing with the Capitol Police. People letting them in freely. Many of those people then being charged.
Look,
the government cannot put you up to do something and then charge you for it. That's wrong.
I don't want to have
to. Wrong to the left or the right.
I don't want to have to. I don't want to have to interrupt you. I really don't. But I don't want you to mislead the audience here or at home.
14, I think they've been misled by the mainstream media.
14 people.
The mainstream media has misled
14
them.
people were charged in that plot. A majority of them were convicted.
I said 3 of them were acquitted on grounds of entrapment. That's a fact. Dispute me. Was I wrong about that?
What folks need to understand.
Was I wrong about what I said?
What
I was
folks
not.
need to understand
3 people were acquitted on grounds of entrapment.
9 were convicted.
A juror apologized.
9 were convicted.
Yeah, but the 3 who were put up should have never got to that stage of a trial.
The January 6th
That's unacceptable in the United States.
Look, I just want people to understand. 3 people were acquitted. 9 people were convicted in that plot. But let me get back to our audience here. And let's bring in Joe.
I don't even know where to begin with that. So, this guy scares me. He's way more extreme than Trump is, I think, in a lot of ways. And wildly, there's been a backlash in some of the right-wing circles that are Christian nationalists because they say he's a Hindu, and because he's a Hindu, you can't trust him. So there's some other crazy stuff going on behind the scenes there. But here's a guy that's basically saying, it was an inside job. January 6th was an inside job. These 3 got let go. Like, let's forget about the 9 that got convicted. Like, the CNN person keeps saying, but 9 were convicted. And he's like, it's unacceptable in this country that these other 3 were even brought to trial. And I hear that, and my reaction is like, bro, how many innocent people are lying in jail as we speak that I know you don't give a shit about? Like, come on, man.
Well, yeah, and that's the frustrating thing too. It's like you want to talk about like let's talk about how this country treats whistleblowers. Let's talk about how this country treats journalists. Let's talk about, when protesters get mistreated. Let's talk about some of the shit you had to go through. You know what I mean? And then he's hung up on it's just like, well, 3 people, and he cherry picks his
He
data.
cherry picks, and none of them were convicted. They got let
talking
go.
over. He keeps talking over. He keeps talking over. Was I wrong? Was I wrong? Was I wrong? I'll keep talking over. Was I wrong? Was I wrong? I'll just be louder. Was I wrong? Was I wrong? Was I wrong? Mainstream media. I mean, it's like, and here's
Ron, wildly. Here's the thing. As far as
was I wrong? No, sorry. There's last one.
Wildly, this is an example of how the checks and balances in the system actually worked, because they weren't convicted, they were let off, didn't happen. So, I mean, to me, when I'm like, bro, you're giving an example in which the checks and balances worked. The innocent people didn't go to jail. I'm not even sure they were innocent. They were let go on technicalities, whatever. Meanwhile, there are actual real innocent people that are serving time because they were unlawfully convicted. Like the Innocence Project is out there, running DNA tests on folks that were convicted in the 60s. And they're finding out these people aren't guilty of any crimes. Like, if you want to get pissed off about like problems in our criminal justice system, this is not it.
Yeah.
This is political. You're just doing this because it's political.
Yes, it is. And what frustrates me so much, and like because there's little, like some of the stuff that people like him will say, it's like, if you dig far enough, you'll find a little bit of a nugget of truth, but then they take it into this absurd place. The corporate media doesn't do a good job telling the story. They just don't, because they don't want to. They're not interested in doing it. They're not interested in journalism, because if you really invested in journalism, that would take money away from your shareholders, and it might make some of your advertisers not too happy.
Right.
But then he takes it into this freaking crazy place of just like, oh, they're being hard on Trump. They're being hard on the right. They're being hard. I mean, there's no.
J6 was a false flag, right? I mean,
and all of those things are just like, they're false. I mean, they're so. I mean, the whole like mainstream. I don't like to say the word mainstream media because I think it means nothing. I like to say corporate media, but like corporate media.
Not all mainstream, not all quote unquote mainstream media is necessarily corporate or bad. So I agree with that.
Well, and it makes it out like that's what mainstream people are all about, and it isn't. Right. And like that isn't. That's just what they're trying to tell you. And so I like to say corporate media, but like, corporate media, all those things where they're saying, oh, corporate media favors like a quote unquote liberal buy, like that's all complete nonsense. It's all corporate. So it all has a huge
favors a moneyed interest bias, period.
It's moneyed interest.
And that transcends politics. I agree. Yeah,
it's pro-war. Yeah. It's pro-imperialism. Yeah. It's incredibly nationalist. I mean, so it's not left at all. Like it's completely right wing. It's just
I don't
the only differences are on like some like social issues, but that's like, but he will not ever say that. He'll make it out like, oh, they have a liberal bias. They're mean to Donald Trump. They're mean to this.
Well, and to be fair, everything that's not like everything left of epoch times is liberal to them. Let's clarify how extreme these guys. The media that these guys are regularly consuming is incredibly far right, and most of it isn't accurate. It's not. I always love total sidebar here, but I always love how they name their shows The Daily Veracity, and you're like, you wouldn't know what veracity was if it looked you in the face. Are you serious? Like, I mean, they'll put truth in there somewhere, like Truth Social, right?
Did you watch? I have not. Have you watched the Daily Wire movie?
No.
Are you curious? I mean, I'm a little curious.
A little curious.
I think it's free. I mean, I couldn't justify paying for it, but I think it's free.
In there, I agree.
Like,
I haven't had the opportunity yet, so
maybe we could do like an Mystery Science Theater. MS.
Oh, there you go. MST3K.
Yes, thing for that movie.
That could be kind of hilarious, actually. I'm
could be. I mean, that could be really fun. I'd be down. I'd be down. But
okay,
that I did see one of the trailers, and it is wow. I mean, basically they're doing like Anyway, all right. I just wondered if you had seen it. So
no, but I'm putting that on the list, and I do like the idea of taking some of that apart. I want to play one more clip from Vivek where he talks about great replacement theory.
Donald Trump attempted to take on. And if you want somebody who's going to speak truth to power, then vote for somebody who's going to speak the truth to you. Why am I the only person on this stage, at least, who can say that January 6th now does look like it was an inside job? That the government lied to us for 20 years about Saudi Arabia's involvement in 9/11? That the Great Replacement theory is not some grand right-wing conspiracy theory, but a basic statement of the Democratic Party's platform? That the 2020 election was indeed stolen by big tech? That the 2016 election, the one that Trump won for sure, was also one that was stolen from him by the national security establishment that actually put up the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that they knew was false. There's a reason why I'm the only person on the stage who can say these things. That's what it's going to take, not people who are licking his boots one time and now Monday morning quarterbacking and criticizing him when it's convenient.
Governor Christie.
So can I just point out, this is News Nation, which is, kind of a super right-wing website, news website. And you can tell that even they are like, okay, this guy's gone off the...
Yeah. Can I say, though, I will
Yeah.
say this. There is one sentence he uttered that I actually will say, he has a point there. And it was the very last one where he did point out that some of these other clowns on the stage, they did kiss Trump's ass when it was convenient, and then all of a sudden they don't like him anymore. I will say,
I
he's
don't disagree
not
with that.
without a point. Broken clock. He's not without a point.
Because the other
there.
90,000 things he listed were totally batshit.
Oh, of course. But that last thing, I kind of was like, all right, that's, yeah.
He's a kind of a lunatic.
No, he's
all
a
right.
lunatic. But,
So let's
but
move
he's
to
not
our
wrong
next.
about that last thing.
All right, fair. Let's move to the next lunatic. I believe there should be a Trump clip about Bill Barr.
On day one, I will break up the Biden administration's illegal censorship machine, and any official who has violated Americans' constitutional rights will be held very, very accountable. Very accountable. And I make this commitment to you tonight. We will not have Bill Barr as our Attorney General. Is that okay? I promise. He was a coward. He was afraid of being impeached. So how do you not get impeached? I told him, don't worry, don't be afraid, Bill. I got impeached twice. My numbers went up. Don't be afraid. Sir, they want to impeach me, sir. They want to impeach me. He said, Bill, just relax. Just relax. How do you not get impeached? You know what? You let people know you're not going to look at the election. Okay? You let them know we're not going to look at the election, and you don't get impeached. Because the Democrats say, how lucky did we get to get this stiff in that position? I'll also cancel.
So let me just say this right off the top. The reason this kind of concerns me is I think it perfectly exemplifies how Trump really wants to politicize all of these positions, whether it's Department of Justice, Attorney General, FBI, whatever. He doesn't want law enforcement to be separate, applying laws universally as it should be. He wants them to be his army, right? Do what I say. I am the law, a very authoritarian position. And I think that this particular clip sort of exemplifies that. Bill Barr is, for all intents and purposes, a Republican. He voted for Trump. He's even come out, I think, and said he would vote for him again, even though he thinks he should be prosecuted for his election lies.
It's so funny when they say stuff like that.
I know, right? It's like,
really?
Oh
yeah, I think you did all that stuff, but I'd
still vote for him because I'm a Republican. I mean, it's just,
I think
it's crazy.
Well, and I think it kind of goes into the theme that we said, where it's like, look, just because he wants to replace bad doesn't mean, it can't be worse. I mean, Trump wants to, and it is very annoying, and that's putting it gently. It's really annoying when Trump will say buzzwords where it's like, oh, yeah, there is a DC establishment. Of course there is. And it is bad. Of course it is. But he has the intention of something worse. He's just like the plutocrat on the other side of the fence who decided, let them buy me instead of me doing the buying.
Right.
And, we're in this weird contrarian wave where people are kind of clinging to that stuff, and they're clinging to stuff like Donald Trump on the mass scale. It's the same thing that made RFK kind of popular,
Right.
which honestly, I underestimated that. I mean, I remember you and Jordan, I was like, we shouldn't even give it airspace. You and Jordan were like, no, dude, this guy
should.
isn't going anywhere. I was wrong. I wish I wasn't. I wish I would have been right about that one, but I was wrong. Like, that dude is still occupying space.
It's scary. I know.
In our
nuts.
conversations. And it's and he's absolutely freaking nuts.
Yeah,
and
he's nuts. He's
more
totally
people
nuts.
are starting to see through him now because of his atrocious Israel-Palestine take.
Right.
I try not to be judgmental because part of me wants to be like, how did it take you that long to see through this freaking guy? But you know what? I got duped by Tulsi Gabbard years ago, so I can't really, I think it happens to the best of us. So
100%.
I try not to judge. I'm just glad more people are finally seeing that guy for what he is, and I hope that continues.
I agree. All right, I have two more Trump clips, I think, or three more actually. They're just Trump is the gift that keeps on giving. Let's be honest. Okay, this one I think is about election lies.
But who would say that this is acceptable? I think you can win New York. I think you can win New Jersey. I think we can win Virginia. States that in theory would be with, but I have a different theory. I think for years we could have won them. These elections are rigged. Our elections are totally rigged. And we got to do something about it. The radical left Democrats rigged the presidential election of 2020, and we're not going to allow them to rig the presidential election of 2024.
Jesus Christ. Okay,
I know. Look, it's like crazy.
I know we've been through this. And look, our elections certainly have their problems, big time. And we talked about that earlier. But if you're going to go as far as to say, like the 2020 election was stolen, you need to explain literally millions of votes. Millions and millions nonsense. Of votes. Like, it's absolute freaking nonsense. Like,
the only vote of suppression that actually happened was the purging of Black and brown folks done by True the Vote and some of these other organizations.
Well, really. I mean, most of the
radical lefty Democrats did not steal the election. That's just nonsense.
First of all, the radical Democrat in the same sentence is freaking ridiculous. Right there is freaking ridiculous. But it's like, generally speaking, most of the voter suppression that happens and just the kind of fraudulent activity that happens, usually Democrats do it the most in the primaries to make sure they get the candidates they want, and Republicans do it the most in the general. Generally speaking, that's what happened. I mean, there's a good chance in 2016, look, as much as I dislike Hillary Clinton, if the rolls wouldn't have been purged in Michigan the way they were, especially in Detroit, there's a good chance she would have won Michigan. That's just a statement of fact. She would have won Michigan. Now, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, I'm not sure about that, but there's a good chance. It's like, you really want to talk about shady stuff that went down in that election? Look at the purging of the rolls.
Purging of voter rolls was a thing. Yeah. Again,
huge.
Greg Palast did a great documentary on this.
And we never talked about it. Instead, that they were like Russia. Right. And now it's like the whole stop the steal thing it's like you have to justify millions and millions. Here's what really happened. You want to know what really happened?
Trump is absolutely making the claim that our systems are penetrable and that the Democrats literally went in and changed votes. This is why it's a very dangerous rhetoric. That didn't happen, dude. Like,
that didn't happen because here's what actually just happened in practicality. What happened in practicality is that Trump just shot himself in the foot time after time. They completely mishandled the pandemic, completely mishandled it. And so you had a ton of people that weren't even excited about Biden. I mean, there was that poll that showed
they were voting against Trump. Let's be clear.
68% of people that voted for Biden were just voting against Trump. A stale ham sandwich would have beat him for the presidency because he mishandled it so hard that you had people that were coming out of the woodwork in like from 1989 and stuff, haven't voted in like decades.
We're like,
stopping Bush wasn't big enough of an incentive for them. And they were like, we got to get rid of this guy.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what frickin' happened. Do we have a ton of election issues? Hell yeah, we do. Do we have I mean, some of the software we use, is it very questionable? Hell yeah. But that's just not what happened here. It just isn't. So sorry.
I want to talk about the wall for a second. That was a centerpiece, obviously, of his last campaign. Where is that at now? Is he going to acquiesce that the wall didn't entirely happen? Remember, he wanted Mexico to pay for it. Well, he addresses some of that in this clip.
We have so many different things. I'll give you an example. So, you know how beautiful the inauguration is. You're down and you're walking up these beautiful stairs to Capitol. Everything's so beautiful. As I'm walking up, I'll be signing about 4 or 5 different documents. I'm not going to wait to get to the. I may even have a very tiny little desk put on the 20th stair. Because I always like to sign with a desk. Your signature looks much better than holding it up like. But I may have a little tiny desk put up there so that I can sign on the border. I can sign. We're going to complete everything. You know, we built over 500 miles of wall, but we're going to secure our border. If we didn't have that wall, forget it. And by the way, Mexico paid for a lot of it. You know, they had 28,000 soldiers that they paid. Couldn't get them to pay for the wall because there's no mechanism to do that. How do they pay for a wall that we're building? You know, there was a little legal problem. But they paid much more because they paid for 28,000 soldiers along the border that did a whole beautiful job, you know, with the bullets going both ways. Pancho Villa, did you ever see? Pancho, they're less
I love how he just admitted his big idea was all bullshit.
Right, and so he tries to turn it into.
They could never pay for the wall.
Right, and then it's like about soldiers and some kind of racist shit about Pancho Villa. I don't. It's just Trump being Trump. Let's be honest. All right, I've got one final. Oh, go ahead.
He doesn't sound well.
He's not well.
Like seriously. Well, I don't mean just like the batshit crazy shit he's saying. I mean, I mean like he seems like something's not right.
I agree.
Like health wise, like he looks unhealthy, he looks. And he sounds like he's, you know how like Pat Robertson, like there was just that like decline where he just like it almost like seemed like somebody was just kind of holding him up and he was a puppet.
Yeah.
Like that's starting to happen with Trump. It sounds like he sounds just like he's not really there. Like he's not healthy. Like he's. Yeah, like I wouldn't be surprised if something is up with that dude. I don't know what. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not going to try to like over speculate and start theories about Trump's health, but I'll just say he does not. He seems like something is not right. So I don't know.
You're not going to get an argument from me on that one.
I mean, hey man, maybe he just ate something that didn't agree with him. I don't know, but I don't know. Something just does not seem right. Although, I mean, you can say the same thing about Biden. He doesn't sound like everything's right.
We deserve better candidates in this country for sure. And there are a plethora of intelligent, wonderful people in the world. And this is what we end up with is pretty tragic. Tabling that though for another day. One more clip on Trump. And then I want to move on to Chris Christie.
Right through. The drugs are higher than ever before. We had them way down. And I had a deal with President Xi of China. They were going to criminalize fentanyl. If you make fentanyl and you get caught, they're going to criminalize it. And you know what their penalty is if you get caught with drugs? Death penalty for drug dealers and for drug makers. And they were going to criminalize it. It was all done. And then we had the result of this ridiculous election where they used COVID to cheat and other things, too. You don't even have to go into ballot stuffing, the 2,000 mules and all of that. You don't have to. And by the way, the 2,000 mules, hundreds of thousands, millions of ballots we're talking about. We're talking about millions and millions.
All right. So right off the top, I don't know what he's talking about. The Sacklers are not going to get jailed for what they did with
2,000 mules.
So I do want to address that. So 2,000 mules
I don't know what that is.
All right. So it's a ridiculously insane, batshit crazy conspiracy theory, right-wing extremist documentary that came out about the election fraud that happened. One of the things that they do in this documentary is they have this video of a guy basically dropping a handful of ballots off at a ballot drop box, which is perfectly legal. And so they were saying that this guy was illegally ballot harvesting and that And they use the same clip of video over and over again, and that all of these millions of people are doing the same thing. But the reasonable and actual explanation for this is that somebody can have their signed ballots for everybody in their household, and they could drop them all at the same time into the ballot box. That's not cheating. That doesn't mean they're bad.
It was 2020. I mean, people were not able.
I know. So it's ludicrous.
People were vulnerable, and they couldn't really leave home.
And anyone that's seen this clip has a hearty laugh, because you're like, really? That's your example of election fraud? You're out of your mind. This is the dumbest shit I've ever seen. So, and then a journalist actually found the guy in the video and found out what the truth was. But that doesn't stop.
I'm a mule. No. I'm the mule.
But it doesn't stop, conspiracy theorists, QAnon conspiracy theorists from, furthering this untrue thing, right? So,
what would have been epic is if they stopped that guy and he was a Trump voter.
Yeah, right.
If they were like, if he was just like, I just brought my household,
which is entirely possible.
We all voted for Trump.
It's possible that is the case, right? So.
Did they ask him? Were they like, who?
I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. I just know that it was a bunch of bullshit. And so the fact that we have Donald Trump bringing this shit up again recently is really disturbing. He knows, Donald Trump knows none of this is true. He knows he lost the election fair and square. And yet here he is ramping up the retort on this again. It's just absolutely insane.
He doesn't want to lose his audience, Tina.
He's going to, I know. It's crazy though. All right. So
if somebody really wants to stop him from running for president, just give him the network that he wants. Yeah. Just give it to him. Give him his network. Although now
let him implode it.
Now there's an ego thing involved, because now it's like he wants to prove the critics wrong and beat Biden.
Right.
So now there's that component. So if you really don't want to see Trump become president again, here's what you want. You want somebody who's not Biden being the Democratic nominee. So then he doesn't have these rematch. He's not butthurt over a rematch. And then you want to just give Trump his network that he wants. Then he won't run.
I don't know. I think he might. I don't know.
He's going to, because what I just described isn't reality. But
yeah, I think he would run even if it wasn't Biden. I just think he's just wants to be, leader of the free world, so to speak. I just think he's power driven in that way. I agree with you. He's narcissistic. All right. So Chris Christie, that time he sounded like the most. I had to bring this up. I know we played this when we did the GOP debate.
Yeah.
But I want to play it again. I mean, this was the time that he sounded like the most sane person in the room. Like, that is a fact that he did, and he got booed for it. All right. So let's play this.
Here's the bottom line. Someone's got to stop normalizing this conduct. Okay? Now, whether or not you believe that the criminal charges are right or wrong, the conduct is beneath the office of President of the United States. And this is the great thing about this country. Booing is allowed, but it doesn't change the truth. It doesn't change the truth. Mr. Ramaswamy.
I mean, the fact that he got booed for that is crazy, right?
Oh, wait, but I don't know. The first two things he said, I felt like there were some boos, but there was also...
There was clapping and booing both at the beginning,
there was both.
But then the last thing, it was like...
Why did he only get booed on the last one? Like,
I mean, the booing was happening the whole time. But
why was the last one so much more
worse? I don't know. The people stopped clapping, I guess. Boo-centric.
The clappers got tired.
The clappers got tired. They were like, all right, let them boo. Who cares?
It's weird. Yeah,
I want to play.
It was a little weird.
It is a little weird.
Chris Christie wants a job on MSNBC. That's all that's going on with him.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, like that's it. He just wants, and a bunch of liberals are so milquetoast and so like just fair weather that after that they were just like, well, Chris Christie is actually reasonable. I kind of like him. Let's have another sip of red wine, because they don't really stand for anything except we don't like Republicans, which very insightful. You don't like the neo-fascist. You're a genius. They don't stand for anything else. So now they like Chris Christie because he doesn't like Trump. And you know why he doesn't like Trump? What is Donald Trump? A mobster wannabe from the Northeast who's right wing. What is Chris Christie? A mobster wannabe from the Northeast who is right wing. They got They're too much alike. That's why they don't like each other.
Trump and Christie, you think are too much alike?
Yes. Yes.
All right, I'll
Despite
table that for another day. I have questions, but I think we're going to run out of
You
time.
can ask away. You can ask away. Chris Christie is not a good dude.
Oh, I'm not saying he's a good dude at all. I think you can go back to his early politics in New Jersey and see that that's the case. I want to play one more clip, though, from that debate from him real quick.
Okay? You
Tell
say
them
this,
about how you
you
want to
do
send our
this,
kids to die.
you
Go
do
for it.
this at every debate. You go out on the stump and you say something. All of us see it on video. We confront you out on the debate stage. You say you didn't say it, and then you back away. And I want to
I'll
say
tell you
one.
exactly what I said, Chris.
I'm not done yet.
Well, this is
now look.
This is
and here's
nonsense. This man is spewing. This man is spewing nonsense.
Let me tell you something. This is the fourth debate. The fourth debate that you would be voted in the first 20 minutes as the most obnoxious blowhard in America. So shut up for a little while.
I'm gonna respond to that. I want to say your version of
no, I want to say after the main vote.
I'll take that.
I want to say something else. We're now 25 minutes into this debate, and he has insulted Nikki Haley's basic intelligence, not her positions. Her basic intelligence. She doesn't know regions. She wouldn't be able to find something on a map that his 3-year-old could find. Look, if you want to disagree on issues, that's fine. And Nikki and I disagree on some issues. But I'll tell you this, I've known her for 12 years, which is longer than he's even started to vote in a Republican primary. And while we disagree about some issues and we disagree about who should be president of the United States, what we don't disagree on is this is a smart, accomplished woman, and you should stop insulting
So
her.
I'm going to take this. I'm going to take several times over. So first of all, I think we just learned something from Chris Christie. We learned 3 things.
So what's funny to me, this was from the last debate, I believe, the one that just happened. What's wild to me about this clip is Chris Christie is known for being an absolute blowhard, right? I could show you clips, 10 years ago clips from Christie where he's just losing his mind over stuff. So he doesn't want to be out blowharded by Ramaswamy. Like, I don't know what's going on here. As far as those two had been beefing the entire debate, more or less like this. He is right about Nikki Haley getting some rough around the edges treatment from Vivek. But I mean, point being that he had asked her to name certain Ukrainian areas that had been taken back. I believe Donbass was one of them, but she could not mention what those were, or she just chose not to. I'm not sure. She just didn't really answer the question. I'm just giving you some context for where that was coming from. But having said that, like, it's just wild to see the two of them going after each other in this way.
Well, the whole debate was that way. I mean, the whole debate was just, they were literally yelling over each other the entire time. Like it was complete chaos. They were just talking over each other.
Unwatchable chaos, really, on so many levels.
It was totally unwatchable. And it was, I mean, there were some funny moments like there's going to be, but like overall, it was absolutely just like appallingly disgusting. And
it really makes, in my opinion, it makes the GOP look like they are incapable of governance. I would imagine at some point the Republican Party would have a moment and be like, what are we doing here?
No,
it's like the ultimate clown show at this point.
But it's a clown show of people willing to do their agenda. I mean, and do their agenda. I mean, it's like the GOP. I think Noam Chomsky is not wrong when he says that the GOP is one of the most dangerous institutions to humankind. I do believe that. And when I say that, I don't mean people who just are regular people who happen to vote Republican because they think it's in their interest. I mean the GOP establishment, the people really calling the shots. That's who I'm referring to.
Like the Peter Thiels, the Koch brothers,
Mercer, the New American Century, the Dick Cheneys of the world. That's who I'm referring to. They are an incredibly dangerous institution, and they don't care about the U.S., quite frankly. They don't really give a hoot about anyone who lives here. They just have their agenda to try to basically just exploit as much of the world as possible. They want oil. They want resources. They want to cause carnage around the world. They don't care about anything else. They have a religious zealot agenda, and they want to buy up the judges. They want to just have that be
it's a combination of extreme capitalism and extreme religious points of views, like Christian nationalism, and it's very, very deadly. I agree. I don't
absolutely.
That.
So I think that I think that really this is just a reflection of that. I mean, this is like looking at all that in the mirror. And that's why, like, I do, as much as I despise Donald Trump, I do push back against when people make it out like the rest of the GOP is somehow reasonable. And more reasonable than, and it's like, no. Politically, they are exactly the same. Trump just has no subtlety. That's the only difference. People like Vivek and Trump, they just lack any subtlety. And to these people, to some of the like milquetoast MSNBC liberals out there who really think that the rest of the GOP is somehow respectable. And if they're so respectable, why aren't you going to them instead of demonizing third parties? Why aren't you going to these respectable GOP people and say, hey, how about you not support Trump? How about you get us a better candidate than Donald Trump? Why isn't there any responsibility?
Because I'll tell
them?
you why. I think that they do like Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump really is who they are at their core, and they just don't want to admit it often.
Well, yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. It's like, but to the people who entertain that idea that the rest of the GOP is reasonable, then why aren't you going to them, telling them to get a more reasonable candidate? Why aren't you doing that? They'll never do that. You know why? Because in reality, they're like a lot of those types of people. They're blank suits. They're Democratic establishment apologists. So they would rather just blame people to their left. And that's it. They're never gonna. They're not gonna confront the other side of the duopoly. They won't do that. So, you know.
All right. So next on my list, number 4 is George Santos, of course. It perfectly encapsulates the right-wing insanity of 2023. He has now been kicked out of the Congress. But for folks that aren't...
But you can book him on Cameo.
You can... had I known that, I might have booked him just to play the clip on the show.
You could have. I mean, I don't know how much
you know that.
But...
So I first want to play a video that's just a recap of all the insane lies that he has told. I mean, this guy has told more lies than you can wrap your finger around. It's just wild. And I don't understand how we thought he could keep telling these lies and it wouldn't catch up with him, because they're giant, enormous, crazy lies that are easily fact-checked. But let's play this so people can see some of the background on that.
I was a Wall Street superstar. I was this. My family was this. And it was all untrue.
Well, I've been a terrible liar on those subjects.
I've seen how socialism destroys people's lives because my grandparents survived the Holocaust.
I happened to, at the time, have people that worked for me in the club. My company at the time, we lost 4 employees that were at Pulse nightclubs.
Remember what Santos' campaign website said, that his mom was in the South Tower of the World Trade Center in her office when the horrific events of that day, September 11th, happened.
I never said my mother died on 9/11. I never said that. That was never said.
My heritage is Jewish. I've always identified as Jewish. I was raised a practicing Catholic. I've always joked with friends and circles, even in the campaign, I'd say, guys, I'm Jewish. Remember, I was raised Catholic.
I used a poor use of words, but I did work in the industry for a number of years. I did do work with all the institutions I've mentioned prior and more.
George Santos coming down the stairs there of the Capitol. Now you hear Marnie trying to get to him. And as soon as he gets him, it looks like he isn't saying anything to anyone. He has been talking a heck
What a guy.
I mean, that's just some of the highlights. There's many, many more. But I mean, these are like giant lies, like easily fact checked. It's just wild that he cannot stop himself from lying. And it's also wild that he claims that, his grandparents were survivors of the Holocaust. That's why he knows socialism is bad. I'm like, no, bro, that is why fascism is bad.
Yeah. I was trying to cross that T too. I was like, wait a second, where's he going with that? Well, look, I mean, he is a very, very on the nose example of just a pathological liar.
Yeah.
But look, Joe Biden lied about his law school.
Yeah,
Joe Biden plagiarized a bunch.
Everybody
of
has, not anywhere near as
Liz Warren. I mean, Liz Warren and the whole Native American thing. I mean, yeah, I know he is taking it to a whole new level.
Yeah.
But my point is, it's like, well, we also have an electoral system that sort of just embraces such a thing. Look at who he was on that panel with, Tulsi Gabbard, who, I mean, basically.
Wait, that wasn't a panel. She was interviewing.
Oh, that's her show? Does she have a show now?
I don't know if she has a show, but she does do some work for Fox News now. Yeah.
I mean, she's just proof that like just being a political chameleon is a rewarding career. I mean, who knows where she'll be at 2 years from now? She'll probably be doing something totally different.
She'll be on Epoch Times. What if I told you, Ron, that now that he's been kicked out of Congress, he is going to sell subscriptions to his Twitter feed for $7 a month, where he's going to spill epic amounts of tea. Let's play this.
I'd say that's hilarious.
It's super hilarious.
Hey all, George Santos here. My subscriptions are now open on X. Don't miss out on the piping hot tea for just $7 a month. You're going to go nuts with what's coming your way. Hey, Congress people, beware. He'll have no fury like a scorned. Bye.
Man, so somebody needs to buy a subscription and then share it with everyone else. I mean, I'd be curious what he's gonna say. I mean,
he's gonna tell more lies.
But how do? Well, yeah, that's man. But he's got to know some stuff. I mean, he was in.
I mean, but even if he does know some stuff, and even if he partially told the truth at this point, nobody's gonna believe him. Like he shot his wad. Like it's done. So I want to play one last video on this guy just because it's funny. I mean, every now and then somebody in the Democratic Party does something so damn funny that I can't stop laughing. This is one of those examples.
Who made that?
So just in case people aren't clear on what's happening here, all of these, minus the Kevin McCarthy and the other guy that are thrown in there for the in memoriam, those are all fake other profiles that George Santos had used, including his drag one. The last one is him in drag.
So those are, wow. Yeah, that guy.
He's kind of a funny troll. You have to admit it's kind of funny.
Yeah. I wonder if they'll do like a psychological profile on that guy. Because he is like.
It's wild,
I mean,
right?
he's an extreme pathological liar.
Yeah.
But it's like he got into, I mean, it's kind of nuts. So it's like, look, the United States Congress, as horrible of an institution as it is, it's still, you're one of the most powerful people in the world.
Right.
Like, you're literally one of the most powerful people in the world. And I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of mind blowing that it's like he got in there, and
he
people
got in
like
there, and
Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, it's like the most underwhelming people.
Yeah.
And
Can
it's
sometimes
across
win
the board.
elections.
Yeah. And I wish I could say sometimes. I would say often. I would say that more often than not, when I've met politicians in my life, it's been very underwhelming. I usually find them not very trustworthy.
I agree.
It is because our system just rewards that. It
I agree.
rewards corruption. It rewards dishonesty.
I think all political systems do. I think politics of sorts sort of.
But there's degrees. There's degrees, and we take it to a very high one. I don't think it's. And look, this is another thing we agree to disagree on. I think that, we've talked about this before. I do think that compared to a lot of other countries, the United States is significantly worse. I just
In some areas, in some areas, no. It depends. I think.
Agree to disagree. I mean, honestly,
Then let's table that because we're going to run out of time. So Jared Moskowitz is who created this video. He is a congressman from Florida. So if anybody wants to look this up, he has it on his Twitter. The tweet says, "In memoriam to all the members of Congress who are leaving us too soon. They are gone but not forgotten." It's a funny troll. I had a chuckle on that one. But you would have to know that those are all, minus the McCarthy and the other guy, those are all his George Santos fake trolling accounts that he had.
I still wish I could. I mean, I would like to see the $7 content. I mean, I have curiosity.
All right.
Would
somebody's got to buy it.
I
just
can't
to see what he's
justify
saying.
paying for it.
I
but
can't
I'd
either.
Be so,
right.
because
but if somebody does and they spill the tea on spilling the tea, we're all ears. All right, so
it'll get out there somehow.
It will get out there somehow.
It's got to.
Our list is not complete without QAnon, of course. They are still around, folks. They're still around, still making crazy claims. So I know, Ron, you have to get going soon, and we still have so much on this list. Let's just play these really quickly on the QAnon one, because I want to definitely get to the section on fascism before you go. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's start with Q has evidence of election fraud, of cracking skulls and making arrests.
Did they find out? Is Q just that random dude from Jersey? Do we know for sure now?
I don't think we actually know for sure.
We still don't know for sure? Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we do. Maybe some people could make that claim for sure.
Well, there was that speculation out there. It was just that
speculation, yes.
From Jersey.
Yeah, speculation. But there's been other speculation too. I wouldn't say we know for sure.
It's me.
It's
I made a lot of money.
All right. Video one. This is on election fraud. Of course it is.
NSA has been scooping up all electronic communications in the United States for decades. Every keystroke, every email, every text message, every data transfer that happens in the United States, NSA has it. They collect it. They have it all. And so when Q says we have it all, Q is not joking. They literally have all electronic communications. So if there is any evidence of election fraud that is electronic, whether it's transferring data, whether it is flipping votes, whether it's emails, text messages, they've got it. Trump was the president for 4 years, and he had access to the highest level of information. I have no doubt that Trump knows exactly what kind of fraud happened, where the evidence is, and can probably get it if he needs to. I believe that the military is going to step in at some point and start cracking skulls and making arrests.
So this is a great example of how all conspiracy theories start with a grain of truth and then just go off the rails, right? So is it true that the NSA scoops up data? And yes, of course.
Absolutely.
I mean, Edward Snowden exposed that in a big way. So all of that's true, but then he takes this crazy train.
Yeah, he kind of lost me. So wait, is he saying that Q is the NSA?
I don't know.
Like, what is he saying?
That's not clear to me,
so
but
Q
he knows
has
everything.
Well, wait a second. You said the NSA, which is true. But Q.
I don't know.
Q is
that
the
wasn't
NSA?
clear to me. I don't know. That wasn't clear to me.
In
but
which case, doesn't that make Q? Shouldn't Q not be your friend then?
Should be-
Because you don't approve of the NSA, right? Like that's something
I wasn't sure if he meant that he was in government and that since Trump was the president, he had access to everything the NSA does, which means that Trump knows what the election fraud is, but he hasn't put it out there yet for reasons which would make no sense. Like, why wouldn't he defend himself if that was? So I don't know.
All right,
Crazy conspiracy
that
theories.
Yeah.
All right, the next
quite a
one.
ride.
Kirk Cameron, actor Kirk Cameron. What if I told you he's being interviewed by QAnon people and saying some crazy ass shit?
I worked in Hollywood as well, not as an actor or actress, as a journalist for many years. And I saw a lot of stuff. I wasn't fully awake back then, but there was a lot of things that I saw and heard that gave me great pause. And now I focus on exposing child sex trafficking, and I focus a lot on exposing the pedophilia problem in Hollywood. Like pedophilia, Satan worship, that's rampant in Hollywood. Back when you were, a huge child actor, did you hear anything? Did you hear stories? Did you see people, back then pushing, the satanic agenda? Or did we not witness any of that stuff?
I didn't really witness that stuff per se in the specific terms that you're talking about right now. I'm sure, look, evil has been around since the earth has existed. We go back to the Garden of Eden. And so I think that, yes, this stuff is real.
Wow. I feel like
Satanism.
he knew she was kind of nuts.
No. Yeah. So
Like,
Liz, her name is Liz Crocken, and she is a very famous QAnon conspiracy theorist. So there's no way he went on that show not knowing who she is. 100%.
I mean, I didn't know who she was until like right now. So
Okay, well,
so
but if you're going to be on that show, like in that world, she's well known, is what I'm saying.
yeah, I mean, I probably would have looked it up first. So yeah, but fair enough. But yeah, that was something. Well, especially the way that question was so broad. Well, the Satan worship thing was kind of nuts, but like that question was so freaking broad. And, I mean, I really have a particular significant frustration with those specific conspiracy theories, because again, kind of like what we were saying, where it's like there is a nugget of truth. There are instances of really horrible things that do happen in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like that is real. That's not fake. I mean,
they happen everywhere.
They happen everywhere. And there is, I mean, like, yeah, there
pedophilia is a very real and dangerous thing that exists, but it's
freaking-lutely. And
but it's not being run by democratic Satanists selling children
right.
in the back doors of, so
it's not at a pizza restaurant I mean, it's like, and that's very frustrating because,
right.
There is some truth in all of that. I mean, we still don't know the extent of what went down with Epstein and stuff like that, so it's like, it is a very real thing. And it is a very and there are instances where kids get kidnapped and they get sold into these rings and stuff. Like, that's real. That's not fake. Like, that's totally real. But then, QAnon and stuff like that, they take it to this absurd,
no, they just
beyond and then it like, if you bring it up at all, you get lumped into that.
Right.
And that's really sad.
Yeah. And Jewish space lasers and all kinds of craziness.
Right.
So, I mean, what's wild about this particular person, Liz, she used to actually be a journalist at the Chicago Tribune years and years ago, long time ago, before she turned into this conspiracy theory nut. So she actually had a legitimate...
Tina, they were worshiping Satan in the break room. And she had to get away from it.
All right.
In the holiday spirit, she does not regret her decision.
All right, this one's my favorite. I anticipate you having a whole thing about this one. So we're adding Trump to Mount Rushmore via clouds.
Oh, good.
It's really basically the cloud formation right in the middle of that picture. And some people, if you can see it, it's like a 3-dimensional. So there's a nose and there's shadows underneath the nose to give it definition, and the eyes are in the shadow. Yeah. And depending on how I look at it and when I look at it, I see the definition of Donald Trump. And Emily juxtaposed or switched to that picture of Donald Trump. So we'll see that picture and then go back to the other. See, it's kind of that angle. That's kind of, he's actually looking off. Well,
and if you put Donald Trump back up again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now go back.
Yeah, he's looking that direction towards the left. He's looking towards the left of the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we watch the rest of that video where they see the Mother Mary in a taco? I don't want to miss. I want to see the full thing.
No, dude. It's Jesus Christ in a piece of toast.
Oh, yeah. There's that one. There's been a bunch of them. Mount Rushmore in general, like, didn't it used to be like some very significant, like, natural, like land that had significance to the native tribes and stuff? Yeah. That's what, I mean, it's so gross that they did that.
Yeah,
like it's like they ruined this beautiful piece of nature to put these assholes on it. like it's so
all right.
gross.
I mean, fair. Okay.
And I don't want Trump there either.
I don't want Trump there in the clouds a little, but I just thought
not
that
even
was
on the
funny.
clouds.
I mean, the two of them are watching and they're like going. It's like, what am I watching right now? Are you guys serious? All right, this next one is SNL cast member, an ex-SNL cast member, Jim Brower, at a QAnon Reawaken American tour. He was like a regular on this QAnon tour that was going around.
Oh, God. I might have seen this already. This is
all right,
painful.
well, this is painful.
Release the Omicron and let them know it doesn't even matter if they're vaccinated. Like we're an Avengers movie. The Omicron is coming! The Omicron is coming! Put your grandmother back in the basement! Quickly! Get the children away from everyone! It's the Omicron! He's breathing on everyone and no one's dying! You see them panicking. Running to the screens. What do we do now? Ah! Joe Rogan's misinformation! Joe Rogan's misinformation! Joe Rogan's misinformation! War in Russia! War in Russia! War in Russia! Quick, look to the other ring of the circus! Do you see what fools they are?
Bro, do you see what a fool you are? I mean, every accusation is a confession.
He's laughing all the way to the bank. I mean, that's actually not the clip that I saw.
Oh, you saw something worse than that one? I mean, he was on tour with these guys for a bit, so.
I mean, it's literally a clip where he is just making noises. And it really just looks like a society de-evolving. He's just making noises. And you see this like audience pissing themselves with laughter. He's literally just making
it's probably from the
noises.
same thing because this goes on and on and on like this.
Oh, it's from the same power set, you say. Probably. But I mean,
for folks, let's realize that these are people that don't believe COVID was real. It was a hoax, right? These are the same people that instead of getting vaccinated because the vaccine will kill you, they were using urine therapy because that would prevent you from getting sick. And if you ask, I hear you asking me, Tina, what is urine therapy? Oh, let me tell you. Not only were they drinking their own pee, they were pouring their pee into their eyeballs and then wondering why their eyes were turning red and pussy. Yes, I actually saw this in multiple Telegram rooms. It was a thing. So apparently that is not experimental medicine, even though vaccines are. Like, there's just no logic to any of this stuff. There's just
I mean, have I peed on a jellyfish bite before? Yes, I have. But that's as far.
To stop the sting. I mean, but would you pour your piss in your own eyeballs and say that's going to stop you from getting COVID?
I mean, would I pour my piss in my own eyeballs? It depends on who's footing the bill and how much it is. I mean, if somebody really, if somebody really was like, I bet you won't do. I'm like, well, what do you? It's like when my Uncle Fred, like one time my Uncle Fred was like talking about some of the dog food that he's eating, and my mom said, "Why'd you eat dog food?" He go, "Bets," and that was just the end of the conversation. He had some money to get.
All right,
But,
so I'm now actually regretting not pulling up some of these old screenshots I have of this, because I could absolutely show you screenshots where people were doing this, and you're just like, what the hell?
No, I believe you, which is frightening. Which is frightening.
It is absolutely frightening.
But it's, I mean, this is one of those things where it's like culturally, I feel like we're just losing. So
We lost the plot.
badly, because it's like I've never met Jim Brewer, so I don't know him. But I mean, part of me thinks like a lot of these guys, they just saw an opportunity to cash in.
It's possible.
I mean,
it's possible that he doesn't believe any of their conspiracy theories, and it's just a.
I have no idea. I have no idea what he
possible.
believes or doesn't believe. So I'm
It's
not
still
going to
crazy.
speculate that. But
It's
I
still
think
crazy.
it's like it's such a lucrative thing to
Yeah.
do, and
Yes,
and it's
grifting
just,
off of right-wing extremists is incredibly lucrative. There is no two ways about that.
and in comedy, I mean, you can make so much money in comedy if you do that right-wing comedy stuff.
I agree.
Because there's just first of all, most comedians are not right-wing, because most creative people have a certain amount of empathy, which usually means you're not going to be right-wing. So there aren't many right-wing comedians out there. So if you are one, I mean, yeah, that's just basic economics there. Supply and demand is really on your side.
Right.
Like,
Right.
but there's a new wave now. And I don't know, I talk about this with a bunch of my friends. I'm not going to go too far down the rabbit hole here, but you know, there's this whole new wave of like this sort of like hipster right-wing thing going on. And
I agree.
It's weird, and it's
weird.
freaking frightening. And
It
and
is.
it's just sort of like you look around and you're like, well, okay. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to fit in here. That's for damn sure.
They're all trying to out edgelord each other because, you know, they're or out irony meme each other.
It's
a thing.
edgelord.
It's a thing.
I hate contrarianism for the hell of it.
I do too, and that's what it is.
When contrarianism is the right stance, and when you're going against the grain, because it's
more to principle. If it's more to principle, then that's a different thing. But I think
That's
a lot
totally
of these guys,
different, yeah.
they're contrarian for the sake of being contrarian. They're anti-establishment, and it's not for the sake of that, where it's not more to any specific principles or beliefs. And you end
Yeah.
up reaching very untenable positions at some point if that's what's going on.
All right, can we go to the chat? Because I got to go soon.
Yeah, wait. We got the fascism section, which is that's why I said I want to do this section. I think it's important. So we have, I think, 3 clips here.
All right, let's make them quick.
And then we'll go to the chat. All right. So fascism is the number one problem, I'm saying, of 2023, an increase of fascism. I think a lot of folks don't realize the extent to which they're just outwardly saying, yeah, we want fascism. What's the problem with that? So that's where we're at. This first clip I want to play is this is the California GOP Secretary of State candidate. Listen to what she has to say about her platform.
My views are a little bit controversial when it comes to voter registration. Everyone is wanting to make it as easy as possible and kind of appeal to the lowest common denominator of the easiest way to get as many people registered as possible. I see it the exact opposite. I want to make it hard. I want it to be something that people have to choose and re-choose and have to prove that they're a citizen and all that. So I would love, and again, I know this is controversial. Some people like it, some people hate it, but I think we should clean the slate completely and have people have to re-register, say, every 8 years or maybe even every 12 years. But you have to re-register. You have to stay, proving that you still want to vote, that you're still alive, and that you still want to vote, that you still live in the place where you're saying you live. And so that's what I would like to do with voter registration. There is a law, the National Voter Registration Act of 1984, that is really problematic, really makes it difficult to get people off the voter rolls once they're on. It needs to be overhauled. That needs to be changed. That's, again, something I would advocate to the legislature to make happen, because right now it's very hard to get people off, and I want to change that. I want it to be a privilege to vote, you know, and I want you to have to actually like have to work to sign up, not have it be that there's this auto enroll and every single person is getting a ballot and all that. I don't like any of that. The education part of it is so important because we do want people who are actually looking into what they're voting on, the people that they're voting on, the legislation, you know, like they really need to be educated. And when we do the system that we're doing now, it causes people who are not educated on what's going on and they don't even maybe care, you know, enough to look into it. And then they're voting on things.
Okay. So much to unpack there. But number one, we should make it easy as pie to vote. Everybody that is a citizen in this country that lives here should be able to vote, period, end of story, no questions asked.
Because it's
automatic.
Right. It's not a privilege.
It is a right. It is not a privilege. She's wrong on that. It should be automatic once you turn 18, you're registered. End of story. But you know, here's the other thing. She brings up this kind of Plato's idea in the Republic, right? That democracy is bad because you have uneducated people voting in the democracy. But the problem here's when you run into the problem.
Her a little too much credit.
Who gets to decide who is and isn't uneducated? Like, I'm going to say, Rachel Hamm, your supporters are incredibly uneducated. Most of them believe crazy conspiracy theories. They believe lies, all kinds of things. What the fuck are you talking about? And you think you should be the one that gets to decide who is and isn't educated? That is very fascist. It doesn't, it's so incredibly problematic. I don't know where to start, but this is what some of the mainstream GOP folks are now saying, right? She's not the only example of this. So I think people need to be aware of that. And, you know, for her to say that it's very hard to get people off the voter rolls is not true. Watch Greg Palast work through the vote, how they were able to easily purge in Georgia and Texas, Michigan, many voters that were legally should have been able to vote. They made it very difficult for them. All right, next one, Groypers. All right, we have to talk about Groypers because they're still around and they're growing in ranks too. This is the America First faction of the Republican Party. They are incredibly racist. They want a white nationalist state. They don't hide that. Anti-Semitic as hell, like all of it. Here they are just fully admitting that that's exactly what they want.
We'll start watching this guy. They're all going to freak out when Trump gets back in, then he fires 50,000 people. Yeah, and DC is just like Magaville. And then the troops are in the streets going door to door.
Rounding up
undesirables who broke the law.
Yeah, who literally broke the law. Yeah. No, that's real though. We gotta I watch this and it goes without saying, I love when they talk about shit like this. Like when the leftists or liberals or whatever the fuck, when they're like they're trying to take over the country and put in a king. Yeah. I'm like, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Let me watch some more.
See, now the funny thing about that to me is you have people like this who will like call out and be like, these guys are fascists. Like they want a king. They want to like fire everybody and like they never want another election to happen. And then you'll get like the libertarian MAGA people, like the same guy pretty much. They're like, no, what are you talking about? They don't want that. And we're over here like, yeah, we totally don't want that. Like,
and then we go live in private, and we're like, we do want that.
Yeah. And then like right wing watch, they'll like clip us saying that, and then these guys will make videos like this showing us saying that, and then the libertarian MAGA viewers are just like, nah, dude, that's like fake.
Yeah, they don't want that.
Trust me. Nah.
They're just messing around. It's clearly a joke.
Dude, it's all about liberty and freedom.
Yeah. That's so real. I love it.
And see now the funny thing is they could just clip this and just put it on Twitter.
Yeah.
And then the cycle's just going to keep going.
All right.
What's the deal with the dude yawning in the corner? What was his deal?
He's a Groyper. He's just giving. That's Claude's. Claude Felter is the guy
when the black bean
in
the corner.
Yeah, well,
he agreed. He's like, I'm tired.
I think the point of this clip, though, is to just say, so the libertarians are like, it's about liberty and freedom, and then these guys are like, yeah, it's just irony. It's a meme. We're kidding. And then they're like, no, it's not. We're not kidding in private. No, yeah. So if you go into their telegrams, they're not kidding. And in fact, there was a whole 4chan board at one time dedicated to installing a monarchy. If they could make Trump king, that'd be great. Then Trump king has a kid, and Trump Jr. becomes, like there's a whole royal establishment that happens. No, they're fucking serious.
Not bizarre. Not bizarre at all. Good for them.
But the point being is that they're serious. They don't want democracy. They want fascism. They want an authoritarian state. They don't want people that are unlike them to have the right to vote. They're all for having a military come in and, day of the rope. If I say day of the rope, that's from the Turner Diaries. That's when they hang everybody that isn't, white male or white male trad wife partner. If you don't fit into their mold of what they think an American is, you're out of here. So it's very dangerous stuff. I mean, it is all done in irony and humor, though, right? But I mean, again, how many times can you post a meme, a racist meme over and over again and say it's irony before you actually start believing that it's true? It's just, that is how irony and humor is how they suck people in. It doesn't mean they don't think it's true.
Yeah, I mean, probably, yeah. I mean, I don't know. That's it's just a weird. I mean, I know you spend a lot of time, studying said subculture. I usually just sort of get the cliff notes from you because
right.
I feel like I would never sleep at night if I took some of the deep dives you did. So.
All right. So one last, even though I had more stuff lined up, we went longer because we were talking about other stuff at the beginning, which is fine. That was important too. Let's play this one last clip because this is another segment of fascist creep that is happening in the country and is growing. This is the Christian nationalists. They want to install a theocracy in the country. They think America is founded on Christian principles, that it should at heart be a Christian theocratic state.
How are we not theocratic enough for them?
We're not, believe me.
How are we not like?
I know.
All right.
They want Handmaid's Tale kind of stuff. So I want to play this clip only because it highlights how they kind of turn the tables on the rhetoric, right? So in this clip, you're going to hear one of these Christian nationalist preachers. His name is Ken Graves, talking about how secular humanism is really the caliphate, not any sort of religious belief.
Why should we be intimidated as we find ourselves, actually, in all honesty? When we're being honest, we are conscious that militant homo-fascism seeks to take over our land and make it Sodom. We are also conscious that militant Islam, truthfully, wants to establish a worldwide caliphate. They want to destroy everything we have, and complicit with them is the secularist. It is the secular humanist fundamentalist extremists. They want to make this their own sort of secular humanist caliphate. It is, in fact, a little intimidating to acknowledge that they have every major institution, that they have, in fact, taken control of entertainment. They have taken control of education. They've had massive gains in recent decades. This we must acknowledge. But why should we be intimidated if what has been placed in our hands is the very word of God? It is, in fact, a sharp, double-edged sword. It is the word of Almighty God.
Why does he sound like a cartoon? Like, it's hard.
I wish he was
even
a cartoon, but he's real.
It sounds like he's like, I want to go steal that picnic basket.
Right.
Like, he sounds ridiculous.
He does sound ridiculous, but he has a very large audience. Also a right-wing watch for folks that know. I do use a lot of videos because they do a great job of clipping up. They cover a lot of Christian nationalism. They've been doing it for decades now. So great. It's a great site to keep your eyes on stuff if you have an interest in that. But what's interesting is, again, he's turning the tables, right? So the fascists are the homosexuals, the homosexual fascists, I think is the words he uses, the gay agenda, that you often hear them say that. So basically they're saying if we grant diversity to everybody in this country, if we do have inclusion, equality laws, and we give everybody equal right to having equal freedoms, that is them being, hurt and harmed because now they're being forced to accept something that they don't like or agree with. And it's just nonsense. You're turning the table. No one's telling you have to be gay, but you don't have the right to shit on everybody that doesn't agree with your Christian theocracy. That isn't what this country is about. So, but again, they'll turn the tables. They'll find themselves to be the victims just by inclusion existing in the world.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what they do. They it's one of those, like, they have one finger pointing, three are pointing back at them. It's like, well, there's the gay agenda. It's just like, no. You want your religious dogma to be our laws. And that in verbiage, that's not allowed here. We have the quote unquote separation of church and state. We don't actually have it. It's unfortunately not true, but we're supposed to have it.
We're supposed to have it. The idea that this country,
but
right? We were founded on religious freedom, religious tolerance. That's not Christianity. That's basically people having the freedom to believe what they want to believe. All religions have to be equal.
Alone. And be left alone. Yeah. Which is fine. I mean, I love that idea.
I'm fine with that.
Believe what you want to believe, and just, leave other people alone. As long as your beliefs aren't harming other people, cool. It's really not that freaking hard, too. Like, it really shouldn't be that complicated.
Right.
But it is. And these people, and it's been going on for so long that,
it's getting worse. I mean, the Roe v. Wade thing is a prime example. That is something they've had in their crosshairs for a long time. And let's be clear, there's big money behind this. Heritage Foundation, Leonard Leo, all of these individuals that have been giving money to getting Roe v. Wade overturned. Like, decades they put into this. This is a massive goal for them, and they're just getting started. This was goal one on that. They're going to go after gay marriage next because they want that to be gone.
Yes, so they definitely are. I mean, and it's so hypocritical, like they make it out like, oh, we're so persecuted. No, you're not. You're imposing your beliefs on everybody else.
You're the ones that are persecuting people that disagree with you. That is the problem. I agree. It's frightful that they can't see that.
It's like, and it's just so mind blowing. And look, I mean, I was raised Catholic. I walked away from it, and I do think that we are seeing a more secular society now. Like,
some of this is probably reactionary, because I do think that's true.
It's happening. Well, I think this, and I hope I'm right on this prediction. Like, my niece is one, she's about to turn 1, right? And I do not think she will understand the kind of anger towards religion that our generation has. Like, I don't think she'll just see religion as that thing her grandparents liked, and that'll be it. She won't so because it won't really be in her life, she won't fully understand like the frustrations that I had, or even my sister, or my wife, or whatever else. Like, it just she won't connect with it on a personal level the way our generations did. And I think that's a good thing. Now, the other side of that is, like, it still might be imposed in our laws, so she'll have that side of it. But
I mean, if these guys get their way, that is exactly what they want, which is frightful. It's definitely a form of fascism, probably one of the worst. Okay, let's get to the super chats then, because I know you have to go.
Yes. All right, so
I think that's a good roundup of clips for the day.
Just want to show some super chat love for the status duo, Notorious Tina-Desiree Berg and Ron Placone. Aw, cool heart. Chip in if you can. Thank you so much for that,
Thank you, Chris. OG Chris Garrett. Thank you.
Always great to hear from you. Happy holidays. Nadia, what's up? Good to see you again. The books the Nazis famously burned were patient records and handwritten research. Yep, that's right.
That's true. Yeah.
I might do some mispronunciation here, but I'm doing my best. Magnus Hirschfeld's Institute for Sexual Wissenschaft.
Yeah.
A not just anti-gay, but anti-trans attack killing Dora Rickner. Yeah, the Nazis went after transgender people first.
They went after mentally ill folks and transgender and gay folks first. This is where they perfected their gas chamber techniques, actually. They had these vans that they could move around. They were like mini moving gas chamber vans that they would take into mental health institutions. And I think at that time, a lot of gay folks were wrongly put into mental health institutions. So yeah, Nadia, what you're saying right now is 100% true. Like, it's, sometimes we get caught up in the Holocaust being about all the Jewish people that were killed. But it was much bigger than that. There were lots of folks that were victims of the Nazi party. Yeah.
So here's more from Nadia. I actually didn't know about this. This is interesting. Libertarians are obsessed with abolishing the age of consent.
Yes. Hang on.
Why?
And in fact, can we play one more clip only because Nadia is bringing this up, because I did have this in I had so much more than we could fill in, I guess, in 2 hours.
So these women, they're like, you're a pedophile. It's like, fuck you. 16 isn't a kid. They're like, she's a child. We all were 16 once. We all know what sex is. Okay, give me a break. So people need to grow up.
Dude, if it's legal, it's legal, man.
What?
If it's legal, it's legal.
Facts. And, even if it's not legal, it doesn't always mean it's wrong.
I mean, and I could play a bunch more clips on that. Thanks for pulling that up really quickly, though, for me, Colin. You knew exactly what I was talking about.
So
yeah, there's a bunch of rhetoric on the right now. They want to abolish the age of consent. Andrew Anglin has been talking about this for a long time. He's a neo-Nazi. They believe Matt Walsh, another one who's talked about it. The minute a girl's able to get pregnant when she gets her period, she should be able to get married and have sex. That's not pedophilia. It's like, no, fuck you. It is pedophilia. You're grooming young women. You are literally you guys are calling gay people groomers all day long, but listen to what you're saying. You guys are actually the ones that want to groom young women. It's fucking disgusting.
Yeah, it's pretty messed up. So Nadia's comment, libertarians are obsessed with abolishing the age of consent, think kiddie porn should be legal. Oh, God. And the solution to unemployment is mass prostitution. The social policy negatives are bad in another way. I didn't know about any of that. I mean, look, my personal view is, I think the age of consent is a good thing. I think that
absolutely it is.
I mean, I do think that prostitution should be legal, like because I think the fact that it is illegal leads to more problems. I don't have a problem with a person doing sex work, of course, assuming they're choosing to do that. And I know some people, they say, oh, well, it's always exploitation. I think that's a very broad brushstroke there. And that's not always the case. And second of all, I mean, someone said this to me. They were like, well, Ron, sex work is always exploitation. And I'm like, well, why do you say that? And they said, well, the person wouldn't be doing that if it wasn't for money. And I said, you mean like every other job in the history of ever? You mean like literally every other job?
I think this is a really complex conversation. I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I do think a lot of it is exploitation too. I don't think it all is, but
some of it is. And also,
what
else?
More than just some, I'd say.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not fluent enough in that world to say that one way or another. But I do think that, there's also, here's what I'm saying. It's hard. I have no right, in my opinion, to go up to somebody who maybe they were working a minimum wage job, barely getting by, working their ass off, and it was terrible. Yeah. And then they started taking pictures of their feet, and now they're making 10 grand a month online.
Yeah, go for it. I don't see a problem.
Go for it. Yeah. I don't think it's my place to be. You're being exploited.
No, I mean, and I've interviewed some sex workers, and a lot of them do make these decisions because they make more money and they're doing it knowingly, and that's fine. That's not the same thing as grooming young girls that are 13 years old.
Those are two completely different things. Those are two completely different things. They are not in the same wheelhouse at all.
I agree.
And the reason I think it should be legal is because I think a lot of the exploitation that does happen,
happens because it's illegal.
Yeah, like people being abused.
I mean, that is a topic worthwhile debating and having a conversation about. In my opinion, I agree.
But
I think there's definitely some truth to that.
But I definitely don't think it's like the solution for our.
No, it's a complex issue.
It's not. I wouldn't just be like, oh, we should.
But Nadia coming in with like really good comments again. Nadia always has really good comments. Thank you, Nadia.
She has one more.
They
want LGBT. They want LGBT imprisoned worse, not just unmarried. Yeah,
I agree.
I mean, they're trying to eliminate trans.
I have the past 6 months. I have seen more unbelievable like hatred and rage from anti-gay folks out in the street filming protests than I've ever seen in my life anywhere else in any way, shape, or form. Like it scares the shit out of me, to be frank with you. I have seen some of these people literally so full of rage, just screaming obscenities, horrible things, anti-gay rhetoric. And you can just feel the rage. Like it's unbelievable to me. And they're all hyper-religious individuals. And when I'm standing there watching this, I'm like, my God, I have never seen so much hate in my life. It's very scary that this is increasing right now. And it's being driven largely by, traditional Catholics, Christian nationalists, like very religious individuals that are, being told to hate gay people, and that gay is in ways that hasn't been done in decades. I don't know why at this particular moment in time this is happening. How did we go from, the things we were talking about 2 years ago during the Trump presidency to the anti-gay rhetoric? Because this wasn't as big of a deal until I'd say the last year, and it started with the anti-trans stuff, right? And it's
because they have that new scapegoat. I mean, the new scapegoat is trans people, because like the whole anti-gay crusade. Well, people kind of evolved, and they realized, oh, I have a gay friend, and this and that, and we moved a little bit forward as a society. Heaven forbid.
And then now,
oh wait, no, there's this other group though. They're coming after your kids, and there's this thing called gender affirming care. You don't really know what it is, so we're going to tell you what it is, and of course
they get it wrong.
They don't even get it wrong. They're lying.
Yeah,
I think they are lying.
They are lying about a lot of stuff. I agree with that.
So here we have one more thing from Nadia.
Okay.
Nadia, no unemployment benefits because go do prostitution. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah, that's a ridiculous sentiment. I'm with you. Yeah, that's if that's what libertarians are pushing, that's
libertarians are ridiculous. Like a lot of these are like ANCAPs too. They're like ANCAPs are anarcho-capitalists, so they're extreme libertarians. My concern though, Ron, is that it's grown far beyond just being anti-trans. Like I'm talking about like hardcore homophobic stuff that I have not seen in my lifetime until now. Like stuff you heard about, that happened in the 70s and whatnot. And just rage, and they feel like able to just barf it out, and there's going to be no consequence for it. It concerns me deeply.
I mean, it's definitely very concerning. I had a guest on my podcast recently named Celeste Lacine, who's been like an LGBTQ activist for a very, very long time, made the short film Trevor, and founded the Trevor Project.
Okay.
And I asked him, I said, do you think overall, because we were talking about stuff like Florida and stuff like that, I was like, would you say it's gotten better? And he did say, yes, it has. And the reason he said, yes, it has.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I didn't know the answer to that question, which is why I asked him. I figured he had better insight than I did.
Yeah.
And he just said, look, even though, there is still a lot of ugliness out there, it's still, I mean, they've been doing it forever. This ugliness has always been there, but there's so many more people out there who want to help. And now when you're young,
I think that's true. Yeah.
So that is the yin to the yang, right? Like it's like there is more support for LGBTQ youth than there ever has been before. There are, and what's really sad about that, instead of seeing that as society moving forward and wanting to help,
you have this reactionary religious right coming in and doing what they're doing. Yeah.
Well, all right. That makes sense. That, but they vilify it. They vilify, it's not that you're a counselor who wants to help LGBTQ youth because maybe you're LGBTQ yourself and you want these kids to have it better than you did. No, it's because you're a quote unquote groomer, which is so just insulting and terrible.
Yeah,
and
it is terrible.
So
I agree.
Anyway.
All righty.
Well, let's go and thank everybody. Chris, thank you very much. Nadia, thank you very much for your insight as always. Nadia, Nadia with a lot of insight today. Thank you very much for that. Thank you, Colin, on the 1s and 2s and the 3s and 4s. And I guess we should mention you can get yourself a membership and get 2 months free for the holiday sale.
Yes, holiday sale.
Holiday sale, everybody.
And again, this supports our, on the road journalism that we do. We have lots of stuff I'm sure we're going to be covering next year. This year we went to the UAW strikes. We were, I think, the only organization that was there every day, pretty much from start to finish. We were it.
We were literally it.
Covering Cop City down in Atlanta, covering other strikers elsewhere, including Amazon. So lots of stuff going on that we want to continue to cover.
Yeah. And guys, you can go to my website, my movie. There are some screenings announced for my movie, ronplacone.com. Check out if it's coming to a city near you. And the series will start up in January. I'm excited for that. We're going to have a scripted series right here on Status Coup. And that's all I got to say, Tina.
That's all you got?
Turn it over to you.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us today for Right Wing Insanity Report. Thank you, Ron, for all of your humor and insight. Always great to have you on the show. And everybody else, have a great weekend.